Chapter 41, Summon Shenron. Goku seemed to understand, his eyes lit up, and he quickly rushed forward, scratching at old Gohan's face. In an instant, old Gohan's face turned into a big smiley face. Seeing his handiwork, Goku laughed happily. "Now, are you calm?" old Gohan smiled. Goku nodded. "Have you seen a book?" old Gohan asked, picking up the torn cover. "It's this one." Goku pointed to his mouth, then patted his stomach, followed by a big grin, showing off his white teeth. "What? You ate it?" old Gohan wiped sweat. Goku vigorously nodded. "Was it delicious?" old Gohan was speechless. Goku immediately shook his head vigorously. And after Goku shook his head, he patted his stomach again. Gurgle. Goku's stomach growled hungrily. "Are you hungry?" old Gohan understood. Goku nodded. "Then come with me, I'll get you something to eat," old Gohan suggested, putting down the basket behind him, motioning to Goku, "Get on here, and I'll carry you back." Goku lightly jumped into the basket. "By the way, what's your name?" old Gohan asked. Goku now only said a few simple words. "Goku? What kind of name is that?" old Gohan shook his head. "Never mind, let's get you something to eat first." Back at home, old Gohan made a hearty meal for Goku. Goku ate happily. "You can eat. You've eaten a month's worth of food in our house," old Gohan wiped sweat, "but come to think of it, even though I don't know where you came from, you're as skilled as your companions at such a young age. I would have been in trouble if it weren't for my somewhat decent strength. And seeing you eat like this, you haven't had much education. If you have nowhere to go, you can stay here, and I can teach you a lot." Hee. Goku grinned foolishly, picking up a leftover bone and smacking it on old Gohan's head. "Old Gohan! What a peculiar kid he is. That hurts." Old Gohan rubbed his head. Goku rushed forward again, scratching at old Gohan's face. Old Gohan's face turned into a big smiley face again. "Be gentle. The scratches from earlier haven't healed yet," old Gohan laughed. After scratching old Gohan, Goku jumped a few times, then quickly rushed into the jungle, disappearing in no time. By now, it was dark on Mount Baozu, and the jungle was pitch black, occasionally echoing a wolf howl. Old Gohan glanced in the direction Goku disappeared, suddenly feeling like there was no movement. "What's wrong with this kid?" old Gohan frowned, couldn't help but worry, and quickly followed. When he got closer, old Gohan was speechless. Goku was lying in the jungle, sleeping soundly, drooling all over the ground. And about 3 meters away from Goku, a big tail wolf opened its mouth wide, staring at Goku intently. The tail wolf was about to pounce when it tragically discovered old Gohan nearby. Old Gohan glanced at the big tail wolf. The tail wolf seemed to recognize old Gohan, whimpering in fear and backing away several steps. "Ahaha, it's you. Have your injuries healed?" old Gohan waved to the big tail wolf. The tail wolf seemed to remember being tortured by this old man last time. Scared, it tucked its tail tightly and quickly fled. "You little! Why are you sleeping in this place? You almost got eaten." Old Gohan sighed, picking up Goku. Goku stretched lazily, snuggled into old Gohan's arms, and slept even more soundly. "Have a good sleep at home." Old Gohan smiled and took Goku back home. This was the most restful sleep Goku had since arriving on Earth. When Raditz went back, he also found another Dragon Ball. With that, Raditz had 6 Dragon Balls in his hand. "So soon, 6 Dragon Balls are gathered." Bulma looked excitedly at the 6 Dragon Balls on the table. "When Broly returns, can't we gather all 7 Dragon Balls?" "Yeah." Raditz nodded. After another hour passed, Broly flew over from a distance and landed in the yard, handing a Dragon Ball to Raditz. "Not bad." Raditz praised. "Hee." Broly scratched his head, smiling silly. "Now that 7 Dragon Balls are gathered, wishes can be granted." Raditz smiled. Broly nodded stupidly, showing a face of expectation. Bulma also stared tightly at the 7 Dragon Balls on the table, murmuring curiously, "I want to see what Shenron looks like." Raditz placed the 7 Dragon Balls on the ground and shouted at them. "Come out, Shenron!" Instantly, a golden light shone above the 7 Dragon Balls, and the golden light grew larger and larger, instantly forming a golden pillar of light. Whoosh! The golden pillar of light shot into the sky, flashing like golden lightning, dyeing the sky gold. Broly widened his eyes, showing a face of shock. Bulma, too, stared with her big, cute eyes, watching such an amazing phenomenon. Snap! The next moment, the sky suddenly turned black. The black night sky made the nearby gold even brighter. At the same time, the golden pillar of light turned into a huge dragon in an instant, winding through the night sky with divine dignity. Is this Shenron? Wow, so big, Bulma exclaimed. Broly scratched his head, showing a face of shock and even a bit eager to try, wanting to go over and punch Shenron. Raditz pulled Broly back. What do you want to do? This child who gathered the Dragon Balls, state your wish, and I will do my best to grant any wish. Shenron's voice sounded, looking at Broly with some caution. Why do I feel like this kid wants to punch me? And his energy is far beyond mine. Truly worthy of being a legendary Super Saiyan at such a young age. So young and already has such powerful energy. What do you want to do, Shenron? Bulma looked at the 7 Dragon Balls on the table and murmured curiously. Raditz placed the 7 Dragon Balls on the ground and shouted at them. Come out, Shenron. Instantly, a golden light shone above the 7 Dragon Balls, and the golden light grew larger and larger, instantly forming a golden pillar of light. Whoosh! The golden pillar of light shot into the sky, flashing like golden lightning, dyeing the sky gold. Broly widened his eyes, showing a face of shock. Bulma, too, stared with her big cute eyes and watching such an amazing phenomenon. Snap! The next moment, the sky suddenly turned black. The black night sky made the nearby gold even brighter. At the same time, the golden pillar of light turned into a huge dragon in an instant, winding through the night sky with divine dignity. Is this Shenron? Wow, so big, Bulma exclaimed. Broly scratched his head, showing a face of shock and even a bit eager to try, wanting to go over and punch Shenron. Raditz pulled Broly back. What do you want to do? This child who gathered the Dragon Balls, state your wish, and I will do my best to grant any wish. Shenron's voice sounded, looking at Broly with some caution. Why do I feel like this kid wants to punch me? And his energy is far beyond mine. Truly worthy of being a legendary Super Saiyan at a young age. Chapter 42, I won't hit you. Have you been to Namek? Shenron looked at Ren in surprise. Yes, Ren nodded, speaking truthfully, I also gained the ability to survive in outer space through the Shenron of Namek. As far as I know, the Shenron of Namek can grant 3 wishes. Why didn't you wish for Mr. Broly to have the ability to survive in outer space? Shenron curiously asked. Are you here to make a wish or ask questions? Ren rolled his eyes. Shenron. You started the conversation first. And now it's my fault? Alright, I'll grant you this wish immediately. Shenron nodded, the ability to survive in outer space includes, but is not limited to, surviving in harsh environments such as the vacuum of space and the realm of nothingness. An invisible divine power flashed in Shenron's eyes as he spoke and quickly enveloped Broly's body. Broly looked down at his body, then scratched his head. Good dragon. I won't hit you. Broly gave Shenron a thumbs up. Shenron. So if I don't grant your wish, are you going to come beat me up? Sweat dripped down Shenron's dragon face. Your wish has been granted. Farewell. Shenron said, and his massive body suddenly dissipated while the 7 Dragon Balls swiftly flew into the sky from the ground. Ren casually waved his hand. Immediately, the angelic power in Ren's hand shimmered, quickly covering the 7 Dragon Balls about to fly away. The 7 Dragon Balls, just about to fly in all directions, changed course abruptly upon sensing Ren's angelic power. Thunk! Except for the other 6 Dragon Balls scattering worldwide, one traced a parabola in the air and landed outside Bulma's warehouse. The Dragon Ball now turned into a stone and rolled on the ground a few times, appearing in an inconspicuous spot. Huh? Ren, it seems like the Dragon Ball flew away. Bulma looked surprised at the disappearing Dragon Ball. Yes, after granting wishes, the Dragon Balls become stones and scatter worldwide. They will revive again in a year. Ren explained. So you have to wait a year to make a wish. Bulma blinked her big eyes innocently. Yes, that's what it means. Ren nodded. Master Roshi's Island. Master Roshi was stretching exercises on the beach, stretching his arms, bending his old waist, and waving his cane. Left 3 punches, right 3 punches, twist your neck, wiggle your butt, live the night life. Master Roshi exercised while shamelessly humming a song. Phew! Suddenly, Master Roshi felt something rushing towards him. What? Master Roshi was slightly stunned, without hesitation, and immediately raised his cane high. Bang! The Dragon Ball hit Master Roshi's cane directly. The cane broke instantly. With another muffled sound, the stone Dragon Ball hit Master Roshi's head. He staggered backward and fell to the ground. The Dragon Ball bounced off Master Roshi's head, rolling into his room. Master Roshi! Rubbing his sore head, Master Roshi grimaced. Why would a stone fall from the sky? Master Roshi scratched his head in confusion, then quickly ran back home and found the round stone egg that appeared in his house. Master Roshi was puzzled. What is this? Such a round stone. Master Roshi pondered, why did this stone come to my house and from the sky? The next moment, Master Roshi looked at the stone angrily and stomped on it fiercely. I'll squash you! I'll squash you! 1 minute later, Master Roshi limped and threw the stone back onto the beach. East Capital Suburbs. Lapis retied the sandbag, ready to punch. Whoosh! A round stone fell from the sky and smashed heavily onto the sandbag. Bang! With a loud noise, the sandbag shattered, and sand scattered everywhere. Lapis was frightened and burst into tears. What's wrong? What's wrong? Lazuli ran out of the room. A stone fell from the sky. Lapis pointed to the round stone in the courtyard. A stone fell from the sky. Lazuli picked up the stone and looked up at the sky in confusion. Yes, that stone. Lapis nodded fearfully. Is it that alien again? Lazuli pouted and hummed. Damn aliens, always trying to scare me. When I grow up, I'll make you regret it. Lapis clenched his fist tightly, his childish face full of anger. Mount Baozu. In Grandpa Gohan's house. Grandpa Gohan was holding Goku sleeping. Bang! A round stone fell from the sky and landed at Grandpa Gohan's doorstep, making a dull noise. Grandpa Gohan woke up suddenly, looking puzzled outside. What's this? Goku, who was sleeping soundly, was also awakened. With his dazed eyes, he scratched his face after seeing Grandpa Gohan opposite. Be gentle. It's only been a few hours, and you've scratched me 3 times, Grandpa Gohan smiled bitterly. He he he. Goku chuckled, then buried himself in the quilt and fell asleep soundly. This kid has quite a fiery temper. Grandpa Gohan wasn't angry either, showing a doting expression. Poor child, abandoned by your parents at such a young age. Is it because you have a tail? It's strange recently, everyone seems to be growing tails. That powerful kid also has a tail. Grandpa Gohan muttered to himself, then got up and went outside, seeing the round stone lying on the ground. Where did this stone come from? Grandpa Gohan looked at the stone embedded in the ground, then looked up at the sky, murmuring, did it fall from the sky? Afterward, Grandpa Gohan shook his head in confusion, returned to his room, and continued sleeping. Goku, in his sleep, moved his body, his head resting on Grandpa Gohan's thigh, and continued grinding his teeth. Grandpa Gohan suddenly had a bad feeling. Don't mistake my thigh for a chicken leg. Grandpa Gohan immediately put on thick pants for himself. Chapter 43, Galactic Patrolman Jaco. A few hours have passed. Ah! Old Gohan exclaimed, getting up and rubbing his thighs. Luckily, I was prepared early on. This kid can be ruthless. Looking at Goku sleeping and still grinding his teeth, old Gohan was not only angry but also felt a hint of indulgence in his eyes. West City, Capsule Corporation Headquarters. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Briefs received a call and hurriedly walked over to Ren. Bulma saw her father approaching Ren and dashed over from a distance. Ren, my daughter called me and said she encountered aliens. The aliens' spacecraft malfunctioned, so they asked me to come to help fix it, Dr. Briefs informed Ren truthfully. Do you have time? Can you accompany me to take a look? Sure, no problem, Ren nodded. Dr. Briefs' daughter? Is it Bulma's sister, Tights? It's very likely. So, the aliens Tights encountered should be Galactic Patrolman Jaco. As a Dragon Ball fan, Ren had naturally read the manga Galactic Patrolman Jaco. Ren has even read Bardock and No 18's stories, let alone a manga from the Dragon Ball canon. The so-called Dragon Ball canon is plot certified by Mr. Toriyama. Galactic Patrolman Jaco not only appeared in that manga but also significantly appeared in Dragon Ball Super. Moreover, another outstanding elite in the Dragon Ball Super manga is among the Galactic Patrolmen. His name is Marusu. Marusu is the most outstanding elite warrior among the Galactic Patrolmen. Marusu's other identity is that of an apprentice angel. Ren even wanted to meet this apprentice angel, Marusu. Perhaps he could meet this apprentice angel, Marusu, through Galactic Patrolman Jaco. Dad, I want to go too, Bulma quickly said. I also want to see what the aliens my sister encountered look like. Alright, let's go together, Dr. Briefs didn't object. Dash, dash, dash. Bulma quickly ran into her room, grabbed an energy gun, and ran out. Bulma, why are you holding a gun? Dr. Briefs was puzzled. If those aliens dare to bully my sister, I'll shoot them, Bulma tightly grasped the energy gun. Broly, let's go, Ren greeted Broly, who was staring at the stars with a wave. Broly jumped up from the ground with a carp and flew over here, nodding obediently without asking where they were going. A certain solitary island. Galactic Patrolman Jaco stood on a high platform, looking up at the sky with a somewhat serious expression. Bulma's sister, Tights, was swimming in the sea like a mermaid. In addition, a slightly rugged old man with a white beard strolled around nearby, bored. By the way, I heard that Jaco came to Earth for vigilance. Tights popped her head out of the sea, looking at the old man. Now that you mention it, I remember him saying there will be a terrifying guy descending on Earth, the old man nodded gravely. A terrifying guy? What's going on? Tights climbed ashore and wiped her hair and body with a towel. He said that guy is here to destroy Earth. I thought he was joking, the old man replied. I remember him saying that his radar captured a planet with vicious aliens launching a spacecraft, and the destination of the spacecraft seems to be Earth. I'll go ask. Tights stepped towards the high platform and appeared next to Jaco, greeting him. What? Jaco asked without turning his head. You said there would be a terrifying alien coming to Earth? Is it true? Tights asked curiously. Yes, according to calculations, it will indeed land nearby, so I landed here. Jaco looked up at the sky and nodded lightly. According to calculations, it should fall here like a meteorite. Are you sure you will exterminate him, right? Tights smiled and asked. If it's a little guy who falls, it's okay, but when he grows up, I can't handle it. Jaco shook his head. Ah? What should we do then? Tights was a little scared. What do you mean? Of course, I'll run away, and the Earthlings will be wiped out, Jaco replied without hesitation, even somewhat arrogantly. Tights. So, if a kid falls, it's okay? Tights asked again. More or less, 3 to 5 years old should be fine, Jaco nodded, showing confidence in his expression. Tights silently wiped her sweat. 3 to 5 years old? Isn't that the same age as my sister? Is it appropriate for you, an alien, to bully a 3 to 5-year-old child? Hasn't he arrived yet? Has he deviated from Earth and gone to another planet? Tights asked again. If that's the case, it's lucky, Jaco replied without looking back. Never mind, let's not worry about it, Tights shook her head, then looked at Jaco again and couldn't help but say, but your suit material is really good. It's for sure, but this isn't my suit. It's just my upper body armor, Jaco replied casually. Tights stood up from the ground and showed a shocked expression, glaring at Jaco and asking, what do you mean? Have you not been wearing pants all this time? What's the problem? Jaco was unruffled. So, you've never been wearing pants? Tights suddenly felt that Jaco was being a pervert. Don't talk so vulgarly. That's how it is on our planet, Jaco snorted. Tights looked at Jaco's legs and found that they were unusually smooth in the leg position, with a purple color overall, without any special parts. Feeling strange, and couldn't help but ask, how do you pee? TCH. Jaco nonchalantly sprayed 2 liquids from the top of his head. From here, Jaco pointed to the 2 small holes on his head. Tights. Can you eat and pee at the same time? Won't you get pee in your mouth? Tights chuckled, covering her mouth. Jaco immediately felt uncomfortable all over. What do you mean? Do you talk like that? I came to Earth for free to help you solve problems. Jaco gritted his teeth and said unkindly. What kind of dangerous alien did you say? Is he also peeing like you? Won't he pee in his mouth? Tights couldn't help but be interested. Jaco. I don't want to talk to you, Jaco glared. Chapter 44, Don't come over. Not kidding you, talk about that alien again. This urged. The alien I mentioned, their purpose is to occupy other planets. The most terrifying thing is, they are a very warlike race themselves, even our galactic police are not their match. Jaco's expression became heavier. Like Earthlings, who have no combat power, they will send a child here, and eventually, they will gradually eliminate all humans on this planet. Ah? So serious. This looked moved. They will maintain a childlike size from childhood to adolescence, which will make opponents less vigilant, Jaco said in a deep voice, and then suddenly grow into a combat form, which is the appearance of an adult on your Earth, and they will continue to maintain this form without aging. As for their appearance, there is hardly any significant difference from humans on Earth, except for an extra tail. I thought they looked similar to you, Tights understood, then asked, so, which planet are they aliens from? Their planet is called Planet Vegeta, they are Saiyans, Jaco replied. The name doesn't sound particularly impressive, Tights sighed, but anyway, it doesn't seem like a good thing for them to come to Earth. Let's go down, it seems they won't come today, Jaco shook his head. So you're here to observe those Saiyans coming to Earth, right? This realized. Otherwise, what do you think? Jaco rolled his eyes. The two walked down from the platform. I just called my dad, and my dad agreed to come and help solve your spaceship problem, Tights said to Jaco. Your dad? How can your dad help? The old man asked strangely. Jaco also looked curious at Tights. After knowing each other for so long, why did you suddenly mention your dad? Is your dad famous? Have you heard of the Capsule Corporation? This asked the old man. The Capsule Corporation? Of course, I know, the old man nodded. Isn't that the enterprise of Dr. Briefs, the most famous genius scientist in West City? Why did you suddenly mention this? Do you know Dr. Briefs? I know him, and very well, Tights smiled. Very well. The old man was stunned. He's my dad, Tights said. The old man was stunned, screaming, and didn't return to his senses for long. Jaco, on the side, was also puzzled. Silent for a long time. Ah? Miss Tights, you're the heiress of the Capsule Corporation, the old man exclaimed. I didn't want to say it, Tights sighed. The old man. So, your family is very wealthy. Jaco looked at Tights and asked. It's all because of you and me that I said it. Don't treat me especially because of this, Tights smiled. Of course not, Jaco shook his head. This is awkward. Can't bluff in front of aliens. My dad said they'll come over soon, probably by evening, Tights added. But come to think of it, as the heiress of a wealthy family and the world's richest, why leave home to work outside? And come to this poor island? Jaco asked, puzzled. The old man. Who's calling this a poor island? Because I want to be a science fiction writer, these experiences are necessary. Growing up in a wealthy home, I can't imagine what this kind of life is like, Tights smiled and replied, the conditions here are ideal, and coincidentally, there's you, an alien. Also, this alien won't lay a hand on me, a beautiful woman, so I'm relieved. Jaco felt a little depressed. What you said makes sense. I don't know how to refute it. Approaching evening, a luxurious amphibious airship slowly approached from the sea. Wait. I want to fly. Broly tried several times to fly out of the airship. You be honest. Bulma glared at Broly angrily. Broly scratched his head awkwardly, grinning stupidly. The airship landed at the pier. Dr. Briefs, Ren, Bulma, and Broly individually walked down from the airship. Jaco and the others were already waiting at the shore to greet them. Thanks for coming all this way, Dr. Briefs, the old man hurriedly shook hands. You're the alien Tights mentioned. Dr. Briefs adjusted his glasses and curiously looked at the old man. The old man. Cough cough. I'm Dr. Cochin, the old man wiped his sweat. Dad, this is the alien, Tights pointed to Jaco beside her. However, when Tights turned her head to look at Jaco, she suddenly found him sweating profusely all over and his body trembling non-stop. What's wrong with you? Jaco. Tights asked strangely. Looking more closely, Tights found Jaco staring fixedly at the two children. The two children came with their father and Bulma. Siblings, are you classmates from Bulma's kindergarten? This greeted them. No, Ren replied. Broly scratched his head stupidly, grinning stupidly. Sister. Bulma ran up quickly and gave her sister a warm hug. Ren, on the other hand, calmly walked towards Jaco. Jaco's body trembled more violently. Don't, come over. Jaco immediately fought and pointed to the sea on the side, if you come over again, I'll jump down. Shoo. As he spoke, Broly flew over from a distance and pressed down on Jaco's head, smashing it forcefully onto the ground. Bang! Jaco's head had an intimate encounter with the ground. Broly grabbed Jaco's arm, slamming his body back and forth. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Even Ren was at a loss for words. I didn't tell you to act. No, jumping. Broly put his foot on Jaco's body, arms crossed, and shouted. Jaco immediately burst into tears. I didn't say I was going to jump. When Ren speaks, you jump. It's rude. Broly was reprimanded for not being very fluent in language. Jaco sniffled, looking helpless. Truly a Saiyan. It's really strange. Why would two other Saiyans be landing on Earth? And this Saiyan is so strong. Also, why didn't our radar give a signal? Chapter 45, I'm not saying that you can handle a 5-year-old Saiyan. When Ren and Broly stepped off the airship, Jaco recognized their identities at a glance. Can Jaco not be afraid? The information I received clearly stated that only one Saiyan came to Earth. This is strange. Pfft. Sis, you know some interesting aliens. Bulma suddenly burst into laughter, holding her sister's hand and saying, my aliens made you cry in just a few moves. Tights. Aliens? Are they two aliens? Tights was stunned, immediately scrutinizing Ren and Broly up and down. Then, Tights noticed the tails behind the two. Tights' pupils contracted, and her complexion instantly paled. Aren't they the Saiyans Jaco mentioned, the warrior race? Why are they here? Why do they know dad and sister? Sis, let me introduce you. They are also aliens my dad and I just met. He's Ren, and that silly guy is Broly, Bulma introduced immediately. Silly. Tights was slightly startled, turning her head to look at Broly. Broly remained silent, still stepping on Jaco. Jaco felt like dying. Tights looked closely and indeed found this person a bit silly. After witnessing such a terrifying scene, the old man couldn't help but tremble. Both saw Jaco's formidable strength before this, whether the old man or Tights. Jaco easily defeated many people with guns. But encountering that kid named Broly, they were made to cry by him. Broly, be polite, scolded Ren. Broly grinned foolishly, releasing Jaco and returning to Ren's side. Ren stepped forward, extending a friendly hand to Jaco, and asked concernedly, are you okay? Jaco was about to refuse Ren's handshake when he saw Broly glaring behind Ren. Jaco's whole body instantly turned pale, recalling the kid's words. When Ren speaks, others should be polite. Otherwise, they'll be beaten by him. Jaco shuddered and quickly reached out, shaking hands with Ren. Ren pulled Jaco up, dusted him off with some apology, and said, sorry about that, my friend got a bit carried away. Are you okay? I'm fine. After all, I'm also an elite warrior of the Galactic Patrol. That level of attack is nothing, Jaco forced a bitter smile. Ren patted Jaco's arm, nodded gently, and smiled, good to hear. I'm fine, Jaco wiped his sweat. Ren knew that although Broly looked foolish, he was anything but stupid. Just now, Broly's attacks were well controlled. Otherwise, with Broly's combat power, if those attacks had hit Jaco, he would have been crippled if not killed. Bulma, how did you meet these two aliens? Tights looked at Bulma strangely. Ren asked Dad for help to modify the spaceship and landed it at our house, Bulma answered truthfully. Ren? The more handsome-looking one? Tights asked again. Yeah, that's him, Bulma nodded. Do you know their identity? Tights asked fearfully, lowering her voice to Bulma. Aliens? Do we need to know more about their identity? Bulma blinked her big eyes strangely. According to Jaco, they might be Saiyans who came to destroy all humans, Tights said tremblingly. Hey, Ren, my sister said you and Broly are here to destroy all humans. Is that true? Bulma directly approached to inquire. Tights. Tights was speechless. Why are you asking so directly? You silly sister. What do you think? Ren smiled. I don't think so, you don't seem like a bad person. Bulma shook her head with a sparkle in her cute big eyes. Yeah, I wouldn't do such a thing, Ren nodded. Sis, are you relieved now? Bulma smiled. Tights didn't speak. Brief silence. Hello, Ren, I'm Tights, Bulma's sister. Tights approached, extending a friendly hand to Ren. Ren and Tights shook hands, and he silently observed her for a moment. Tights was quite good looking, but probably due to her age, her development wasn't very good. Her appearance and everything else were okay, and her hands were relatively tender. Ren, how old are you? Tights asked. I'm 5 years old, Ren replied. Oh, quite promising, Tights nodded, then looked at Broly and continued to ask Ren, and him. He's the same age as me, Ren said. Tights didn't say much more, then walked to Jaco's side, lowered her head, and asked softly, didn't you say you could handle Saiyans aged 3 to 5? Shut up, Jaco wiped his sweat, this is an exception. So, is what you said about aliens coming to attack Earth true or false? You've confused me, Tights asked, both crying and laughing. Ren doesn't seem like a bad person. Do the words bad person appear on his face? You don't know how terrifying Saiyans are. Jaco gritted his teeth, his voice like a mosquito's buzz, afraid that Broly would overhear. You haven't eaten? I can't even hear you talking with such a small voice, Tights said. Humph, I didn't say anything, Jaco hummed. The old man, Dr. Briefs, prepared a sumptuous dinner for Dr. Briefs. It's just that with Broly, the big eater, this food table isn't enough. Fortunately, Dr. Briefs had prepared snacks in a capsule so Broly could eat his fill. Ren didn't eat much. Saiyans don't eat as much as 40 people at every meal, sometimes, they just need to eat more than normal people. Only after intense battles or when transforming into a great ape and consuming a lot of energy do they need to replenish their strength by eating large amounts of food. By the way, you said you're a galactic patrolman. Ren suddenly focused his attention on Jaco. Broly stopped eating, turned his head, and stared at Jaco intently. Jaco swallowed a mouthful of food, somewhat afraid, glanced at Broly, and then nodded at Ren, honestly answering, yes, I'm Galactic Patrolman Jaco. What's your strength among the Galactic Patrol? Ren asked. I'm an elite warrior of the Galactic Patrol, Jaco replied. Bulma. Tights. The two sisters looked at each other. What an elite warrior. Made to cry by a 5-year-old kid in just a couple of moves. Chapter 46, Apprentice Angel Merus. Speak nicely. Lord Ren said. Bang. Broly casually put the spoon on the plate and stood up. Jaco. Jaco was almost scared to tears at that moment. I am an elite warrior. I didn't lie, Jaco stammered in response, watching Broly vigilantly with fear in his eyes. Then let me ask another question. Lord Ren smiled, among your galactic patrol, who is the strongest? Think carefully before answering. It's Merus. Jaco hurriedly replied, feeling that he might get another beating if he answered late. Merus. Lord Ren's expression seemed pensive as he repeated the name. Jaco dared not say more, his expression constantly changing. So, when your spaceship is repaired, take me and Broly to the Galactic Patrol headquarters. We plan to visit this Merus. Lord Ren smiled. Jaco. Jaco didn't know how to answer this question for a moment. Not welcome. Lord Ren looked at Jack with a smile. Welcome, of course, the Galactic Patrol headquarters welcomes your visit. Jaco immediately relented. Well, that's settled then. Lord Ren nodded satisfactorily. But Jaco was uneasy. I've dug a pit for Merus to jump into. I'll offend Merus for sure. This is troublesome. Will Broly beat Merus? This guy named Broly is too strong. No, I must find a way to contact Merus and inform him beforehand. But my spaceship communicator is broken, and I can't contact headquarters. Oh yeah. After the spaceship is repaired, I'll secretly contact Merus. Thinking of this, Jaco's suspended heart temporarily relaxed. Lord Ren, take me too. I want to go. Bulma raised her hand. You'd better not go, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. You're too young to go on an interstellar trip now. Lord Ren shook his head. What? You talk as if you're much older than me. Bulma wasn't pleased at all. Jaco felt a bit smug. This little girl is challenging that Saiyan named Lord Ren. Will that silly guy go rough on the little girl? However, what Jaco expected didn't happen at all. Broly was completely indifferent. Jaco scratched his head. So, you're only targeting me? After dinner, Dr. Brief inspected Jaco's spaceship with Dr. Brief's company. There was a malfunction in the core energy of Jaco's spaceship. To put it plainly, the battery was dead, out of power. Dr. Brief had the energy component at home, but it was far from here. A round trip would take 4 hours. Tomorrow then, let's talk about it tomorrow. Dr. Brief sighed. It's okay, Dr. Brief, I'm not in a hurry. Dr. Brief chuckled and quickly agreed. Jaco. You're not in a hurry, but I am. Let Broly go get it. Lord Ren suggested, he flies faster. How long will Broly take? Dr. Brief asked. In his current state, if he flies back at full speed, it will take a few minutes at most. Lord Ren pondered. What? Can he fly that fast? Dr. Brief adjusted his glasses, showing a face of astonishment, then nodded, okay then, let Broly go home and get it. Broly scratched his head, grinned foolishly, and nodded in agreement. Broly, after you go home, just find a robot and have it find the S35 energy battery. Dr. Brief explained to Broly. Remember? Lord Ren asked Broly. Broly nodded. Repeat it. Lord Ren said. S35. Energy. Battery. Broly blurted out each word. Go ahead. Lord Ren nodded in satisfaction. They say Broly is silly, but Lord Ren knows this kid is not silly. On the contrary, Broly is quite clever. He is just not very good at expressing himself. Broly turned into a bright stream of light, swiftly flying into the sky and soon disappearing from everyone's sight. I could have repaired the battery myself, but I'd rather hone Broly's skills. Lord Ren looked in the direction Broly disappeared and couldn't help but sigh. Dr. Brief. Dr. Brief. Both immediately looked at Lord Ren. Can you stop bragging? Jaco couldn't help but say. Now that Broly isn't here, Jaco suddenly feels less pressure and decides to be more carefree. Broly was nearby before, and Jaco felt like a mountain was pressing down on him, making breathing hard. Now that Broly is gone, can I be a little unrestrained? Broly, why did you come back so soon? Bulma suddenly shouted. Ah! I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't say anything just now, just pretend I farted. Jaco's face turned pale and extremely ugly in an instant, kneeling on the ground, trembling in fear. Pfft! Bulma laughed heartlessly. Jaco quietly lifted his head. Where was Broly's figure? Jaco stared angrily at Bulma. Haha, Bulma pointed at Jaco, laughing even more joyfully. That's why I don't like kids. Jaco held his head angrily said. Sister, the alien you know is too timid. Bulma turned to her sister and said. Don't repeat the same words. Taitz's face turned black. Lord Ren didn't say much but walked forward, releasing the power of angels in his hands and covering the spaceship with it. Suddenly, the angels' not-so-pure power entered the spaceship's energy area and repaired the damaged energy. Hey? Lord Ren, what are you doing? Bulma asked curiously. It's nothing. Just take a look and see if I can fix the battery. Lord Ren smiled. Or don't force it, I've checked the energy battery, and although it can be repaired, the process is particularly complicated, it's easier to just replace it with a new one. Bulma shook her head, blinking her cute big eyes. Lord Ren, do you understand this too? Dr. Brief was surprised. Chapter 47, Target, Galactic Patrol Headquarters. I don't understand. Just take a look. Ren replied. Briefs. What else is there to see if you don't understand? Jaco couldn't help but roll his eyes, even wanting to pull Ren away. If you don't understand, don't touch it randomly there. What if you accidentally break the spaceship? About 10 seconds later. Hum. 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 Suddenly, there was a flash on the spaceship's body. Everyone present immediately widened their eyes and looked towards the spaceship's direction. Jaco was even more surprised and delighted but with a hint of disbelief in his eyes. What's going on? How could the spaceship be fixed? Look, it's fixed, right? Ren smiled. Everyone fell silent, staring at Ren as if he were a monster. Is this fixed? Isn't that battery difficult to fix? Jaco was even more excited and ran forward, his face full of endless joy. Ha ha ha, my spaceship is finally fixed. Jaco happily danced. But, we can't let Broly have made a trip for nothing, right? So I decided to destroy this battery. Ren said, and the power of the angels suddenly transformed. Snap! The power of the angels acted on the energy battery, destroying one of its components. Hiss! The component burned, and the energy battery broke again. The light emitted by the spaceship suddenly dissipated. Done! Ren clapped, destroying is indeed easier than creating. Jaco's smile froze on his face. Everyone present was more bewildered than ever. Silence lasted for tens of seconds. Dr. Briefs, why do I feel like this little guy is a philosopher? Dr. Omori whispered to Dr. Briefs. No, he's not a philosopher. Dr. Briefs shook his head lightly. Dr. Omori was slightly stunned. I was just talking casually. Why are you taking it seriously? He said he wanted to become the greatest god in the universe. Dr. Briefs added. Dr. Omori. Dr. Omori decided to remain silent, sweat dripping from his face. Is this said by a great scientist? 6 minutes later. A bright streamer flashed in the air, quickly descending from the sky. Broly handed a battery energy similar to the one in Iron Man's heart position to Ren. Very good, it took a total of 6 minutes. Ren nodded satisfactorily, not bad, your energy has increased again. Broly smiled foolishly and scratched his head. Everyone looked at these two people dumbfoundedly once again. Ren then handed the battery to Dr. Briefs under everyone's gaze. Dr. Briefs took the battery and stepped forward to replace the battery on the spaceship. Hum. 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 The spaceship's body flashed brightly, particularly eye-catching under the night sky. It's fixed, it's fixed. Jaco jumped joyfully, quickly pulling Dr. Brief's hand forward. Thank you, Doctor. You're welcome, you should thank Broly. It was he who helped bring the battery quickly. Dr. Briefs chuckled. Jaco's mouth twitched, quickly thanking Broly from afar. Broly waved his hand, saying nothing. Jaco took a deep breath, seeing that Broly had no malice, his suspended heart finally relaxed. Jaco, when are you planning to go back? Tights asked. I'd better go back soon. I've been out of contact with my companions long. Jaco said, I'm leaving now to return to the Galactic Patrol headquarters. Jaco didn't want to stay here. Earth is too dangerous. There are 2 Saiyans here. Earthlings could be wiped out at any time. You promised to take me on an extraterrestrial trip. I want to travel more on other planets and write better novels. Tights reminded Jaco. Jaco. I forgot about this important matter. Okay, no problem, you can come with me. Jaco nodded without objection. Jaco, did you forget something? Ren looked at Jaco with a grin. Jaco suddenly felt bad. Yeah, I promised this Saiyan to take him to see Meruz. Meruz is in for a tragedy. But it's good, who usually lets Meruz be so arrogant? I'll bring him a formidable opponent. It's also a good thing for him to experience. I didn't forget, I'm leaving now. Are you coming with me? Jaco quickly agreed. Then let's go together. Ren nodded. Sister and Ren are going on an extraterrestrial trip. I want to go, too. Bulma pouted, looking unhappy. I'll come back. My spaceship is still on Earth. Ren pinched Bulma's smooth cheek. I told you not to pinch my face, it's easy to drool. Bulma grumbled, remember to come back soon. I haven't finished making your storage ring yet. Keep it up. Ren encouraged. Bulma. Can encouragement finish this? Doctor, Broly and I are leaving. Ren waved to Dr. Briefs, thank you for your hospitality these past few days. I'll leave the matter of the spaceship to you. No problem. Dr. Briefs nodded. Doctor. Good person. Broly gave a thumbs up to Dr. Briefs. Dr. Briefs. Why did he say I'm a good person? Hey, am I not a good person? Bulma put her hands on her hips, glaring at Broly. No, Broly decisively shook his head. What did you say? Say it again. Bulma got angry. Broly was startled, quickly hiding behind Ren. Jaco was dumbfounded on the side. What kind of logic is this? Is Tights' sisters so powerful? I can't feel it at all. Dr. Omori, thank you for taking care of me during this time. Jaco also shook hands with Dr. Omori in gratitude. Come to Earth for a visit when you have time. Dr. Omori smiled. I'm very busy. Where do I have time to travel? Jaco snorted, turning around and entering the spaceship. The cabin door of the spaceship closed slowly. Shoo! The spaceship soared into the air, breaking through the atmosphere instantly, and entered the vastness of space. Okay, we're in space now. Jaco explained. Ah? We're already in space. Tights looked surprised. Look, that huge planet over there is Jupiter, also the largest planet in your solar system, right? Jaco pointed to Jupiter outside the window. Chapter 48, Ren, come and sleep. That's Jupiter. Looks huge from space, Tights exclaimed from her position by the window, gazing excitedly at the solar system. Ignorant woman, Jaco shook his head. Tights wasn't offended. Instead, she looked into the vastness of space and remarked, I never thought I'd be riding a spaceship one day, leaving Earth for interstellar travel. It'll take at least 2 days to return to Galactic Patrol headquarters. Let's get some rest, Jaco addressed the others present. But this ship is small, only 2 rooms. Let's divide the space. As the owner of this ship, I should have a separate room. What nonsense, Jaco. I'm the only girl on this ship. Of course, I should have a room to myself, Tights retorted, glaring at Jaco. Don't joke. What kind of girl are you? Jaco scoffed. In our race, there's no distinction between men and women. I say. Broly suddenly spoke up. Hearing Broly's voice, both Tights and Jaco immediately fell silent, turning to look at him. We almost forgot. There's this terrifying little guy on the ship. Broly didn't say anything but pointed to himself, Jaco, and one of the rooms. Broly's intention was clear, he and Jaco would share a room. Jaco felt uneasy about the whole thing. I don't want to share a room with you. I don't want to die, either. Then, Broly pointed to Ren and Tights, indicating the other room. Ahem, Ren coughed. Broly, are you pretending to be dumb on purpose? You're putting me and Tights in the same room? I'm feeling a bit embarrassed now. Alright, that's settled then, Tights thought momentarily, finding nothing wrong with the arrangement. Tights didn't want to share a room with Broly, she might end up dead in her sleep. Tights also didn't want to share a room with Jaco. What if this guy, who pees out of his head, sprays urine while sleeping? Tights dared not think further. Among them, Ren was the only normal person. Just a 5-year-old kid, nothing serious about sharing a room with him. The room allocation was settled. Tights admired the universe for a while and started feeling sleepy. After all, it was bedtime on that deserted island. Tights stretched lazily, revealing her less than impressive figure, and yawned, I'm going to bed first. Ren, you can join me later. Ren swallowed hard. Sleep with you directly? Is that appropriate? Watching Tights stretch lazily, Ren couldn't help but have inappropriate thoughts. However, Ren also felt a bit helpless. I have the mind of an adult but the body of a 5-year-old. At this moment, Ren earnestly hoped to grow up quickly. Broly entered the other room, locked the door behind him, and immediately fell asleep on the bed. Jaco. What do you mean? You've taken my room. Are you polite? However, upon careful consideration, even if he left the door open, I wouldn't dare to sleep with this kid. What if he punches me while asleep? I might end up dead. Well, let him have that room to himself. I'll manage on the seat for the night. I'll catch up on sleep properly when I return to Galactic Patrol headquarters. Ren wasn't particularly polite either, they entered Tights' room. The room wasn't big, with only a single bed about 1 meter wide, similar to the new sleeper cabins on the previous Earth trains. Slightly larger than the beds in the sleeper cabins. After all, this spaceship wasn't very big, and having 2 rooms was already quite difficult. Upon entering the room, Ren immediately saw Tights, who had changed into pajamas. Tights was wearing a set of pink pajamas, emitting a faint fragrance. The scent filled the room, giving off a unique feeling. Ren, come sleep, Tights shifted her body and patted the small bed beside her. Okay, Ren nodded without much politeness and crawled into Taitz's blanket. Taitz's blanket was warm and fragrant. The unique body scent of a young girl was fully displayed. It had been a long time since Ren had felt this way. Damn it! I've crossed into the Dragon Ball world, and the first woman I slept with is Bulma's sister. The problem is, I can't do anything right now. No, I can't. My ultimate goal is to be Bulma's beautiful angel sister. Even though her skin is blue, I don't mind. The first woman in the Dragon Ball world must be an angel sister with a ponytail. I just like women with ponytails. However, as soon as Ren removed his armor and lay down, Taits grabbed his tail. Such a playful little puppy, Taits murmured. Ren. Is she treating my tail like a puppy? However, what made Ren speechless was what followed. Taits's hands were very restless, and it was as if grabbing a tail wasn't satisfying enough. Hey, cute dog, Taits suddenly chuckled. Ren. I'm only 5 years old. I need to stay calm. I am destined to become an angel. I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all. Outside. Seeing 3 of them were asleep, Jaco cautiously picked up the communicator and initiated a video call with headquarters. Hello, I'm Iraku. You're Jaco, right? You've been out of contact for a long time, the other person responded immediately. Appearing on Jaco's screen was an alien with a peculiar appearance, a round and flat head, features that looked smooth, and a pale green complexion. He was wearing the distinctive armor of the Galactic Patrol. My spaceship had a little problem. It was just repaired today, and I'm expected to return to headquarters in 40 hours, Jaco replied. Is the Saiyan issue resolved? Iraku inquired. Chapter 49, Meruz, a Saiyan wants to see you. Resolved, I have successfully subdued those 2 Saiyans heading to Earth, chuckled Jaco. Iraku's face showed shock as he looked at Jaco, somewhat surprised. No wonder they call me elite, Jaco said proudly. Impressive indeed, being members of the Jaco team. How old are those 2 Saiyans? Iraku asked in admiration. They are both only 5 years old, Jaco answered truthfully. I see. So they don't pose much of a threat in combat, then? Iraku relaxed slightly. No, one of them is quite strong. Jaco's expression turned serious as he lowered his voice, it took a lot of convincing to sway him. Convincing? Iraku was puzzled, murmuring, Saiyans can be persuaded. It doesn't matter, Jaco waved his hand, changing the subject, is Meruz available? Yes, Iraku replied, then connected the communication to Meruz's room. Soon, Meruz's image appeared on Jaco's screen. It's Jaco. Is there anything you need? Meruz asked politely. Meruz, would you like to step out for a bit? Jaco lowered his voice. Step out? Why? Meruz raised an eyebrow. Yes, just find a reason to step out, Jaco whispered. What's going on, Jaco? Meruz inquired. A Saiyan wants to see you. Jaco's expression turned grave. A Saiyan? You mean those warrior Saiyans? Meruz immediately caught on. Yes, exactly, Jaco nodded. If he wants to see me, I'll just meet with him. Why should I step out? Meruz smiled faintly. Because there are 2 Saiyans on Earth, one seems average, but his companion is incredibly powerful despite being only 5 years old. Jaco's tone grew more serious, fear creeping into his eyes as he spoke. Did he mention why he wants to see me? Meruz asked. No, just said he wanted to chat with you, Jaco replied. That's okay, I'll talk to him. Not all Saiyans are bad, Meruz smiled, besides, I suppose you haven't heard? The Saiyan planet Vegeta has been destroyed. Vegeta destroyed? That's karma, Jaco exclaimed with surprise, they must have reaped what they sowed. How did it happen? It's said massive meteors struck them, Meruz answered, but the reality is different. Oh? What's the real reason? Jaco was intrigued. According to our investigation, Frieza destroyed the planet Vegeta, Meruz said thoughtfully. What? Frieza, the Emperor of the Universe. Jaco's face paled, shouting, and then he quickly glanced behind him. Luckily, the spaceship's soundproofing was good enough, ensuring no one heard him, allowing him to take a deep breath. Why? Aren't Saiyans Frieza's fighters? Why would he destroy their planet? Meruz asked curiously. Because Frisia feared the birth of a Super Saiyan or a Saiyan god among them, Meruz revealed truthfully. Super Saiyan? Saiyan god? What are those? Jaco grew even more curious. It is said that a Super Saiyan is the strongest warrior in the universe, Meruz smiled. So, a Super Saiyan could threaten Frisia's position as the Emperor of the universe, hence, he exterminated all the Saiyans, right? Jaco nodded thoughtfully. Yes, Meruz agreed. Now, fewer than 10 Saiyans are left. They brought it upon themselves. Saiyans have invaded many planets and killed many innocent people, Jaco snorted, showing no sympathy for the Saiyans' fate. After all, Saiyans have committed many atrocities, Meruz nodded slightly. Atrocities? Yes, you're right, the evil of the Saiyans is evident, Jaco agreed. In my opinion, there are good Saiyans, too, Meruz pondered. Don't joke, where would you find a good Saiyan? They are always evil at heart, Jaco shook his head, their hearts are forever filled with malice. As the two conversed, Irika's communication was suddenly interrupted. Why is Irika suddenly interrupting at this time? Jaco chuckled slightly, pressing the answer button. Then, Irika's image appeared on the other side of the screen. It's like a group video call now. Iriku, what's wrong? Is something the matter? Jaco inquired curiously. Jaco, it's bad news. A spaceship from Frisia's army is heading in your direction. If nothing goes wrong, your two ships will meet in space in about 2 minutes, Iriku immediately informed. A spaceship from Frisia's army. Jaco was stunned, is it Frisia himself coming? It's not Frisia, Iriku shook his head. As long as it's not Frisia, it should just be some scout or something, right? Jaco speculated. It's not a scout, it's someone very terrifying, Irika's expression grew even graver. Who? Jaco was starting to feel scared. Ace, Iriku uttered the 2 words. Ace? Who's that? Is he famous? Jaco was bewildered. Frisia's son, Iriku said solemnly. You? What did you say? Frisia's son? Since when does that guy have a son? Jaco was shocked, shouting in disbelief. He's had one for a long time, Iriku explained. Frisia's clan, the Ice Demon clan, froze his son on their home planet after he was born. It's said that the longer they're frozen, the stronger they become. Frisia was frozen for about 5 years, his brother Cooler for 6 years, and Ace for only 3 years. But Ace couldn't stand the loneliness and came out early. Chapter 50, Galaxy Prison. Even if you came out early, why did you come to see me? Jaco felt that his whole body was not well. While speaking, Jaco's hands quickly operated on the computer buttons. Sure enough, Jaco soon discovered that a spaceship was speeding towards him. Jaco broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly controlled the spacecraft to change its course. I hope you didn't come here to find me. Maybe I didn't come here to look for you on purpose. Ilika guessed, maybe I happened to meet you in space. Encountered by chance in space? The probability is lower than that of a meteorite hitting planet Vegeta. Jaco couldn't laugh or cry. He immediately clasped his hands together and prayed silently, God, I hope Frisia's son will not discover my spaceship. Jaco, hold on tight first. I'll go over to support you. Myers made a prompt decision. Mers, you are a good man. Jaco burst into tears with excitement and said in a deep voice, but it has been more than a day since you came here, right? No, my spaceship is very fast. It must be at least 10 times faster than yours. It can arrive in less than half an hour. Myers replied. Jaco felt heartbroken at that time. Why is your spaceship faster than mine? And it's so much faster. There was silence for a full 10 seconds. Let's put the spaceship thing aside for now. He is Frisia's son. Even if you can beat him, what if Frisia is provoked? Jaco was a little worried again. Said. Then capture him and put him in the galaxy prison together. Myers smiled. Jaco. Jaco didn't want to talk anymore. Why is your face so big? Do you want to imprison Frisia in the galaxy prison? I wish you good luck, Team Jaco. Iriku sympathized, but our galaxy patrol has always been at odds with Frisia's legion. I hope you can avoid this disaster. What you said makes so much sense. It's better to shut up. Jaco ended the call angrily. Immediately afterward, Jaco looked at I's spaceship through the radar again. As a result, Jaco tragically discovered that the other party's spaceship was quickly chasing him. Jaco was not very calm at that time. The universe. Whis stood at the window in an oblate spaceship belonging to Frisia's Legion, looking into the distance. As far as eyes could see, he could just see the Galaxy Patrol spaceship appearing in front of him. Your Highness Whis, that is the Galaxy Patrol's spaceship. A younger brother came forward to report. Galaxy Patrol. Whis smiled, his tail wagging slightly behind him. It's interesting. I've heard of the Galaxy Patrol long ago, but my father's army rarely comes to this area. Your Highness Whis, are we going to attack the Galaxy Patrol base? The younger brother asked respectfully. If Dad doesn't want to do anything, let me do it. Whis smiled proudly. Aren't the Galaxy Patrol warriors who maintain the universe's peace? Our family must maintain this universe. Not the Galaxy Patrol. So, Your Highness Whis, are we going to knock down that spaceship? The younger brother asked. Catch them alive. Whis ordered. Yes. The younger brother responded immediately. Whoops. Whis' spaceship suddenly accelerated its speed and quickly chased in the direction of Jaco's spaceship. Beep beep beep. At this moment, the detector worn on Whis' eyes suddenly rang. Whis pressed the communication button on the detector. Dad. Whis was stunned. Whis, you didn't stay frozen on your home planet. Why are you running out now? Frisia's voice came over with some dissatisfaction. Dad, I'm bored, so I came out early to do some activities. Whis chuckled. Humph, do you think you are very strong now? Frisia snorted coldly. Dad, although I have only been frozen for 3 years, my combat power has already reached 30 million. I smiled proudly. With my current combat power value, I should be able to walk sideways in this universe. That's true, but this universe is not as simple as you think. Go back and freeze it for me. Frisia gave the order with a cold face. Don't say that, Dad, I don't want to sleep in that boring environment. Whis shook his head and refused. Then tell me, what are you doing on the Galactic Patrol's territory? Frisia scolded. Dad is in charge of the Western Universe, Uncle Galob is in charge of the Eastern Universe, and Grandpa is in charge of the Southern Universe. Only the Northern Universe controls the Galaxy Patrol, right? Whis smiled. Of course, I want to take over the Northern Universe. The universe is united so that our family can rule the entire universe. The Galaxy Patrol area is the area that Shin is responsible for. Don't mess around. Frisia frowned tightly and shouted with a cold face. Shin. Whis was happy at that time, with contempt in his words. What's so great about Kaijin? If possible, I don't mind destroying Kaijin. Whis, you underestimate the power of God. Frisia scolded. Dad, don't worry. Isn't our backer the Lord of Destruction, Lord Beerus? Whis smiled indifferently. Even the Kaijin has to give the Lord of Destruction Beerus some face, right? Frisia remained silent. What you said makes sense. I don't even know how to refute it. You can go explore, but you must be careful. If you encounter Shin, leave immediately. Frisia thought carefully and gave the order to Whis. I understand, Dad. I am sensible. Whis nodded in agreement. After ending the call, Whis' spaceship crashed directly into Jaco's spaceship. Boom! With a loud noise, Ren inside the spaceship felt that he had collided with a soft body. Ah! Tights exclaimed and immediately woke up from her sleep with panic. Then, Tights looked down and found that Ren was pressing his face firmly against her chest. Tights! What happened? Tights was not angry at all. Ren was a child, after all. Besides, the violent vibration of the spaceship just now made Tights feel endless fear. Could it be that the spaceship hit some meteorite? Tights' face turned pale, and she immediately lay on the window of the spaceship and looked out. The next moment, Tights was surprised to see a large spaceship emerging from the window. The opponent's spaceship appeared in the universe like a behemoth, giving Tights a feeling of despair. Is this, a space pirate? Tights was stunned and broke into a cold sweat. Sure enough, you were right. He is a space pirate. Ren immediately looked toward the spaceship and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Chapter 51, Frisia's Son. Ren is a bit strange. Isn't that the spaceship of the Frisia army? How could the Frisia army's spaceship appear in this area? According to reason, the Frisia army controls several other areas except the Northern Universe. Only the northern universe is controlled by the Galactic Patrol. The Frisia army has never ventured into the territory of the Galactic Patrol. As for the reason, Ren is not very clear. But now, the Frisia army's spaceship appears in this area. Could it be because my spaceship's whereabouts were exposed? So Frisia's spaceship chased after us? Frisia, oh Frisia, why are you bothering me for no reason? Well, come on. Let Broly practice his skills. I wonder if Frisia has come in person? Ren calmly put on his battle armor and gently raised his hand, immediately covering Tights' body with a protective shield. Huh? What's this? Tights was slightly stunned, finding a shiny halo around her. This is a protective shield with oxygen inside, Ren explained. Even if the spaceship accidentally explodes, you can survive inside for up to 10 hours. 10 hours, Tights couldn't help but laugh and cry. Only 10 hours? In this vast universe, the distance between planets is calculated in light years. What's the point of surviving for 10 hours in here? I'm going out to take a look. Ren opened the door and stepped out. Broly also rushed out the door, looked around, and rubbed his head. A sudden collision with the spaceship also hit Broly, and his head was accidentally bumped. This is bad. Something big has happened. It's Frisia's spaceship. They forced our ship to stop. Jaco hurriedly explained. Has Frisia come in person? Ren asked. No, it's not Frisia, it's Frisia's son, Eyes, Jaco replied. Eyes. Ren was slightly stunned. Unexpectedly, did this character appearing in the fan comic also appear here? As a Dragon Ball fan, Ren naturally had seen Dragon Ball AF. And in Dragon Ball AF, there is a guy named Eyes. This person's strength is very powerful. However, Ren estimates that Eyes should not be as strong as Golden Frisia. According to Eyes' description, his strength is 10 times that of Frisia's fourth form. And the strength of Golden Frisia is that he's many times stronger than his fourth form. Frisia was able to cultivate the golden form because he was imprisoned in a cocoon in hell. There, Frisia had deep insights, especially his longing for immortality was gone. Even if you have immortality, being sealed in such a place is simply worse than death. After Frisia was revived, he successfully cultivated the golden mode. Because of his profound insights into hell. However, now, a small Eyes has popped out. Why did you come out to cause trouble when you should have stayed frozen on the planet? You even disturbed my beauty sleep. This is troublesome. What should we do? Jaco held his head, feeling a headache. It's okay, let Broly take care of them all, Ren said indifferently. Broly. Jaco was stunned and immediately turned his head to look in Broly's direction but then shook his head helplessly, saying with some fear, no, this is space, Saiyans like you probably can't survive in space, right? Broly looked at Ren, rubbed his head, which had just been hit, and looked confused. Do you see that spaceship? Ren pointed to the huge spaceship outside. Broly immediately ran to the window to look and nodded vigorously. Go ahead, Ren said. Broly quickly approached and kicked open the hatch of the spaceship. Jaco. As soon as the hatch of the spaceship opened, due to the pressure difference, Jaco involuntarily flew towards the door, almost being sucked into space. Snap! Ren gently raised his hand and stopped Jaco. As for Tights, she was changing clothes in the room with the door closed, which didn't cause much trouble. Tights thought that even if she were to die in space, she couldn't die in her pajamas. First, dress up nicely, even if you die, don't embarrass us, Earthlings. You reckless fool! Jaco broke out in a cold sweat and quickly thanked Ren, thank you, thank you. Ren remained silent. Huh? Were you prepared for this? How could you stand there motionless in such a high pressure difference? Jaco admired greatly, while speaking, his hands were not idle, he immediately walked towards the equipment direction with difficulty and pressed a button. Creak! A protective shield appeared on the spaceship's hull, restoring normal atmospheric pressure. Jaco breathed a sigh of relief and immediately asked, what about Broly? Where did he go? He wouldn't challenge Frisia's son in space, would he? He's gone, Ren nodded. What? This idiot. He might have died as soon as he entered space. Jaco sighed helplessly, his hands quickly operating on the machine. Snap! A projection screen was projected. I saw Broly turn into a bright stream of light as soon as he entered space, quickly rushing towards Frisia's spaceship. So fast. Can this speed allow him to survive in space for a few seconds? Jaco muttered softly, then asked strangely, what is he planning to do? Fight with Frisia's son by entering the spaceship. Ren didn't respond but silently watched the screen. The two spaceships were not far apart, and Broly quickly rushed to Frisia's spaceship. Snap! Broly didn't waste any words, quickly rushing up and grabbing a corner of the spaceship. What does he want to do? Jaco was stunned. I's spaceship. Report, someone flew out of the spaceship. The little brother immediately came forward to report. Oh? Is he coming to surrender? I's smiled. Yeah, in front of His Highness I's, even the Galactic Patrol has to surrender obediently and come to kneel. The little brother laughed. I's squinted at the little brother. Is it funny? I's asked lightly. The little brother's smile froze on his face. If you don't let me laugh, I won't laugh. Open the hatch and let me see this Galactic Patrol who came to kneel before me. I's showed a contemptuous look, his tail swinging behind him. The little brother was about to call someone to operate. Suddenly, the hull of the spaceship violently shook. Outside. Broly just grabbed a corner of the spaceship. The next moment, Broly pulled the spaceship's original wheel area in place. Chapter 52, Broly beats I's. Is he turning the spaceship? Jaco stared wide-eyed, with a look of astonishment on his face. Ren looked calm and did not comment. When he looked again, Broly had already pulled the spaceship around. With the first circle, there is the second and third circle. Broly kept spinning in circles, his speed getting faster and faster. Suddenly, the spaceship spun rapidly, with Broly as the center. I's and the others in the spaceship were knocked upside down, and all of them were dizzy. Crack! The younger brother, who had reported to I's before, suddenly collided with I's. Your Highness I's, what's wrong with us? I feel so dizzy. The younger brother said quickly. Your feet, I's glared at his younger brother fiercely. The younger brother looked closer and suddenly discovered that his toes were inserted into I's nostrils. Brother! This is the pinnacle of my life, right? Your Highness I's, I'm sorry. I washed my feet last night. The younger brother almost cried. I's! Bastard! The size was furious, his energy exploded, and he was about to rush out of the spaceship. Broly pulled the spaceship around in an unknown number of circles, and it felt more and more enjoyable as it turned. Click! The next moment, because the spacecraft rotated too fast, the hull of the spacecraft suddenly fell off. Hi! Broly felt his hands light up. He looked down and found that only the handle from before was still there, while the rest had been detached. Broly stopped slowly. Many little stars appeared before his eyes, and his head felt dizzy. Broly originally turned clockwise, but after feeling dizzy, he immediately scratched his head and turned counterclockwise several times. Broly felt that his head was feeling much better right then, and he was no longer as dizzy as before. Immediately afterward, Broly looked at the spaceship that broke away in space. The spacecraft rolled rapidly in space, and many parts of the hull immediately disintegrated while rolling. Whoops! Broly turned into a stream of light, and his short body penetrated the spaceship's hull on the spot. Boom! With a loud noise, I's spaceship exploded into the universe, bursting into brilliant flames. Jaco was stunned. Ren looked as usual. Ren had already discovered that Broly's combat effectiveness had improved during this period. Broly's conventional combat strength has reached approximately 2.5 million. As expected of the legendary Super Saiyan, he always increases his combat power without doing anything. His basic combat power has increased by 500,000 in just a few days. The problem is that he has not practiced yet. If I didn't cultivate the power of an angel, how could I compare with the legendary Super Saiyan? Also, I feel like I'm in a bit of danger. If I don't do anything, will he surpass me one day? Huh? Can that silly boy survive in space? Jaco was stunned and rubbed his eyes vigorously. Okay. Ren nodded. Jaco looked back at Ren, with a look of surprise on his face, and then took out a document bag a little strangely, opened the information inside, and held his chin in thought. According to our investigation, you Saiyan humans should not be able to survive in space. It's not important anymore. Ren replied. Jaco. In the universe. As the spaceship exploded in space, the little brother in the spacecraft also died immediately. In this vast universe, except for very few races that can survive, most races cannot survive in the universe. Even the Saiyans. Ren remembered that in his previous life, many Dragon Ball fans had discussions about whether Saiyans could survive in the universe. Because some people say that the Super Saiyan God can survive in space. That's because they saw Goku and Beerus fighting in space. This is not the case. In the anime and manga where Son Goku and Beerus fight, the area shown is not the real universe but the Earth's outer atmosphere. There is air in that area. Although it is very thin, Saiyans can survive in it. In the Mara chapter of the comic, during a battle with Mara, Vegeta specifically reminds Goku, "You can't go any further, and going forward is the universe." This also proves that Saiyans cannot survive in the real universe. The spaceship exploded, killing all the younger brothers except Whis. Whis also rubbed his head during the explosion, feeling dizzy. After all, Whis was in the spaceship, being dragged around by Broly for countless turns. Broly immediately looked toward the spaceship, and his eyes locked on Whis. Broly's eyes were still very sharp, and it was easy to find that this guy was the only one still alive. Whoops! Broly turned into a stream of light and rushed forward quickly, closing the distance with Whis in just an instant. What is it? Whis vaguely saw a light and shadow whizzing towards him. I saw this man wearing a legion's armor and a green furry apron around his waist. He's from our legion. Whis recognized him in a daze. Broly's armor is also the one he has been wearing since he went to the planet Vampa. Later, this armor suffered some damage, but it was nothing to worry about. Ren used the power of angels to completely repair the damaged armor. Whis was stunned momentarily, but he didn't care too much. There are people in the Legion who can survive in space. Although they are rare, it does not mean they are unavailable. However, when Whis was in a daze, he found that the other party's fist was also waving. Whis' head is still dizzy. Boom! The next moment, Broly's fist hit Whis' face hard. Ouch! Whis let out a scream, and his body flew backward. What are you doing? Ouch! Whis shouted. Of course, Whis' voice is spread in the form of energy. Otherwise, sound cannot propagate in a vacuum. Broly scratched his head strangely. What am I doing? I beat you to death. I was sleeping and dreaming about eating delicious food, but your spaceship awakened me. What else can I do? Broly was very angry and quickly chased in Whis' direction. Nowadays, Whis is only in his first form, and his combat power is not as good as Frieza's first form. Think about how tragic it is. Chapter 53, I feel like Broly is in trouble. Broly didn't unleash his full power, yet even so, that last blow was enough for Whis to endure. Whis quickly shook his head, then noticed the opponent charging towards him once again at an incredibly fast speed. Whose subordinate are you? Whis shouted, and after saying that, his body quickly transformed. In just an instant, Whis transformed into his fourth form. Although called the fourth form, it was Whis' true form. Frieza was the same. The so-called fourth form was the true appearance of the Ice Demon clan. Boom! Whis waved his hands forward, and a huge energy quickly covered Broly's body. In just a moment, the massive energy swallowed Broly inside. A large cloud of dust rose on the scene, shining brilliantly in the cosmic space. Is that enough for you? Whis coldly snorted. Then, Whis scratched his head in confusion and muttered quietly, strange, when did such a powerful figure emerge in my father's legion? Watching the dazzling flames before him, Whis felt a little regretful. Such a formidable guy. Why didn't I discover him earlier? I should have recruited him as my underling. Inside the spaceship of Ren. This is bad. I feel Broly is more dangerous than ever. Jaco shivered uncontrollably, his face turning pale in an instant. It's alright, Ren smiled. Ren, did you see that? Frieza's son can transform. Jaco immediately added. Yeah, our Saiyan race can too, Ren replied. Jaco. He's powerful, you say your Saiyans can transform, is that relevant? Brief silence. I know your Saiyans can also transform into giant apes, Jaco rolled his eyes, pointing to the cosmic space, but without a moon in this space, how can you transform into giant apes? In our hearts, there's a full moon. Every night is a full moon night, Ren smiled. Jaco didn't want to talk anymore. Why am I not on the same page as you? No, we need to leave here quickly. This guy's flying speed shouldn't be faster than our spaceship, right? Jaco decided abruptly. The spaceship's hatch isn't repaired yet. How long can this protective shield hold? Ren asked Jaco. Jaco immediately turned his head to look toward the spaceship hatch. This bastard, Broly. Can't you just open the door properly? Jaco immediately grabbed the toolbox and went to repair the door. Of course, during the door repair process, Jaco watched the screen in front, wanting to see if Broly was still alive. In the cosmic space, the smoke released by ice slowly dissipated. Broly's figure gradually emerged. What? You're okay? Ice's pupils shrank, showing a face of disbelief. Broly calmly opened his mouth wide. Ice suddenly had a bad feeling. Boom! A huge energy erupted from Broly's mouth, covering Ice's body. Humph! Petty tricks! Ice sneered, gritting his teeth, and forcefully punched. Bang! Ice's punch immediately deflected the huge energy spewed by Broly. The immense energy formed a ball of light, whistling towards Ren's spaceship. Not good. That energy ball is coming towards us. Jaco exclaimed in shock. Humph, you've ruined my spaceship, don't expect yours to be spared. Ice snorted, looking somewhat smug. Broly also turned his head to look at the direction of the energy ball. Then, Broly swiftly caught up and plunged into the energy ball. Ice! Boom, boom! The ball of light exploded, once again engulfing Broly inside. Ice widened his eyes in disbelief. What are you trying to do? As the smoke gradually dissipated, Broly's grimy face appeared. What's this guy? What's his strategy? What kind of tactic is this? Jaco was at a loss, rushing into the energy ball he released and detonating it. Who are you? Ice was dumbfounded again. Swish! Broly once again charged toward Ice. What? A Saiyan. Ice was slightly stunned, noticing the tail behind Broly, and suddenly realized. As Ice regained his senses, Broly's fist slammed into his face. And the detector on Ice's eyes was shattered by a punch, floating in space. Looking at Ice, who let Broly hit him in the face, his head slightly tilted to one side, his expression becoming more ferocious. Even a puny Saiyan dares to act recklessly in front of me. Ice sneered, a heavy punch hitting Broly's chest. Puff! Broly spat out a mouthful of blood, his body flying backward. Finally, know who you are? Have you already teamed up with the Galactic Patrol? Ice laughed scornfully. Humph, you think joining the Galactic Patrol means everything will be fine? Swish! Ice immediately caught up, unleashing a barrage of punches and kicks at Broly. Broly was completely outmatched and beaten by Ice until he was bruised and swollen, unable to resist. Oh no! Broly can't beat him. If this goes on, Broly will be beaten to death by him. Jaco's face turned pale with fear, speeding up the progress of repairing the hatch, muttering to himself, I have to hurry and repair the spaceship. Otherwise, we might be affected later. Ren remained silent, calmly watching the scene projected on the screen. Ren knew, for Broly, this was a rare battle. Having a worthy opponent could just help Broly further enhance his strength. Otherwise, how can he be my god of destruction in the future? But I also need to practice hard. If my god of destruction surpasses me, it would be a tragedy. Ah! Broly cried out as Ice beat him. Bang! Ice delivered another kick, directly hitting Broly's head. Broly's body rolled in the air several times, then crashed into a meteorite behind him. The meteorite shattered, exploding instantly in the cosmic space. Swoosh! Ice quickly appeared directly opposite Broly. Saiyan, your strength is not bad. Having such combat power at such a young age is impressive. Ice smiled lightly, pointing to his nose with his thumb, but you should know who I am, right? I am Frisia's. Chapter 54, Jaco, please start your performance. Ice hasn't finished speaking yet. Boom! A huge energy suddenly surged from Broly's body, and his body instantly enlarged. Transformation energy. This is Broly directly increasing his power to that of a great ape, a unique transformation that doesn't require a full moon. What? What is this transformation? Ice was stunned. Upon closer inspection, Broly's pupils lost their color, and his eyes became empty. Whoosh! Broly quickly rushed forward, grabbing Ice's head and vigorously slamming his forehead against it. Arg! Eyes made a miserable cry, feeling terrible, with his head spinning. But Broly didn't let go, still holding Ice's head with his left hand and continuously hitting Ice's face with his forehead. Once. Twice. Thrice. Who knows how many times he hit. Ice felt like his face had flattened. Ah! Ice screamed in pain, suddenly throwing an uppercut and hitting Broly's abdomen. Broly allowed Ice's fists to hit him while his head continued to relentlessly strike indiscriminately. Ren carefully observed and noticed that his energy continuously expanded outward while Ice was being beaten. Soon, Ice's energy had been released to its extreme. Ren sensed that Ice's current combat power was at least 30 million. Broly's highest combat power was only 25 million, still significantly lower than Ice. A difference of 5 million. Bang! 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 Sure enough, what awaited Broly was a severe beating. Ice's fists rained down on Broly like raindrops. Although Broly initially had the upper hand, he was soon battered by Ice. At this rate, Ice would beat the future god of destruction to death. It's not good, Broly will be beaten to death by him. Jaco was sweating coldly. Jaco, is the gate fixed? Ren asked. It's almost done, just one more minute. Jaco hurriedly replied. Don't rush to fix the gate for now, Ren said. Jaco. I'm in a hurry, fix the gate, and let's make a run for it, Jaco replied without looking up. I want to ask you a favor, Ren said thoughtfully. What? Jaco was puzzled. How's your acting skills? Ren asked. Jaco became even more confused, looking up strangely at Ren and asking, what acting skills? Even if a universal level actor came now, could Ice just ask for his autograph and leave? No, I mean acting as his father, Ren pointed to Broly on the screen. Jaco naively thought Ren was referring to Ice. No way, you want me to act as Frieza? Are you kidding me? I don't want to die. He'll chase after me. Jaco vigorously shook his head. I mean Broly's father, Ren said. Act as Broly's father? What do you mean? Jaco became even more puzzled. You just need to do this, Ren told Jaco his proposal. No, I can't survive in space, and do I even look like Broly's father? Jaco kept shaking his head vigorously. Why are you so hesitant? It's you. Ren went up to Jaco, grabbing his arm and pulling him towards the direction of space. Can you let me put on the oxygen mask first? Jaco cried. No need for that, Ren said, covering Jaco's body with angelic power. Huh? What's this? Jaco was slightly stunned. With this, you can survive in space for 10 hours, Ren explained, hurry up. If you keep hesitating, Broly will be killed. Are you sure this thing can survive in space? Jaco was half doubtful, even poking the protective shield that shone like a star with his finger. However, before Jaco could confirm, Ren had already pulled him into space. Jaco. Can't you wait a bit? He's such an impatient guy. Hey, how do we proceed next? Do I just pretend to be dead, as you said? Jaco asked. Yes, when I say start, you show off your acting skills, Ren nodded. Jaco felt bewildered. But now, Jaco had no choice but to obey Ren's orders. Maybe a miracle will happen. Bang! Ice kicked Broly heavily again, kicking him out. How about that? Little monkey, you're no match for me, right? Ice sneered. Broly's eyes were hollow, his pupils turning white, completely losing his sanity. Hey, Broly! Suddenly, a voice came from not far away. Broly turned his head to look in that direction and saw Ren. And when he saw Ren, a glimmer gradually appeared in Broly's pupils, seemingly about to regain his sanity. Eyes also noticed Ren, slightly stunned. Another Saiyan? In addition to this, Saiyan, that guy who looks like a fly, should be a galactic patrolman. Are these two Saiyans going to join the galactic patrol? This is a major discovery. I have to report this to my father as soon as possible. Doesn't Dad know about this yet? Regarding Ren, who just appeared in space, and the galactic patrolman Jaco, Eyes just gave them a simple glance, nothing more, and did not pay much attention to them. I must say, the Saiyan kid who fought with me is strong. I've never seen such a powerful Saiyan before. Eyes gritted his teeth, muttering, could this guy be a Super Saiyan? Not yet, Ren said from a distance. Eyes was slightly stunned. How did he hear me when I spoke so softly just now? Who are you again? Eyes looked at Ren and asked. It doesn't matter, Ren smiled. At Saiyan's unable to survive in space? How did you do it? Eyes asked loudly. Shortcomings can always be overcome, Ren smiled. Well said. Eyes snorted, but you shouldn't be here, you should take this opportunity to escape from this area, maybe you still have a chance to survive. But now, I'm afraid you can't escape. Chapter 55, Broly transforms into a Super Saiyan. Want to see what a Super Saiyan looks like? Ren suddenly asked. What did you say? Super Saiyan. Eyes was stunned for a moment. Yeah. Ren nodded. What do you mean? Do you want to say that you are a Super Saiyan? Eyes looked at Ren and asked. I'm not, he is. Ren pointed at Broly. Eyes. Although he feels a bit like a Super Saiyan, to say he is a Super Saiyan is a bit exaggerated. He just has strong combat power. Eyes laughed. Broly, look, he is your father. Ren pointed at Jack and greeted Broly. Broly looked at Jack with empty eyes, his expression full of doubts, and then he shook his head. Look, he is your father. Ren said, and Broly's not-so-pure angel power in his hand quickly covered his body. Eyes looked confused. What did you say? Why can't I understand what you want to do? Is that Galactic Patrolman the father of this Saiyan? Do not make jokes. It's not the same race. Who are you lying to? At this time, Ren's angelic power successfully entered Broly's mind, followed his brain, and acted on his eyes. Broly's pupils shrank, and he looked at Jack without blinking, 2 lines of hot tears welling up in his eyes. Dad, Broly murmured. Jack's eyes widened even more, with a slightly startled look. Does he think of me as his father? Hurry up and agree. Ren whispered to Jake. Jack's eyes lit up, and he nodded vigorously and said excitedly, yeah, good son. Dad. Broly burst into tears. Eyes was a little confused. Are you recognizing relatives on the spot? What exactly do you want to do? Eyes couldn't help but ask. It'll be ready soon. Please wait a moment. Ren said. Eyes crossed his arms and let out a cold snort. I want to see what tricks you can come up with. Broly, your father is dead. Ren suddenly said. Broly. Eyes. What do you mean? Jake, please start your performance. Ren winked at Jake. Ah! Jack let out a scream, his face became distorted, his whole body was trembling, and tomato juice sprayed out from his mouth, staining his clothes red. Dad! Broly's pupils shrank together, and his expression changed again and again. Ah! I'm dead, Jack's head tilted, and then nothing happened. During the fight just now, that guy beat your father to death. Ren said to Broly. While saying this, Ren raised his hand and unhurriedly pointed at Eyes in the distance. Eyes. I still don't understand what you want to do. Are you acting there? Eyes snorted and smiled contemptuously. Broly immediately turned his head and glared at Eyes. Okay, I was the one who killed your father. What can you do? Do you want to avenge your father? Eyes couldn't help but but he was not afraid. Ah! Broly let out a roar, and his body suddenly burst into golden flames. The golden light spread crazily outward, dyeing the starry sky golden. Snapped. The next moment, Broly's hair suddenly stood up high, and layers of golden flames appeared all over his body. The golden light burned like a flame. However, Broly's pupils were glowing white, and he was still in a state of rage. A powerful aura centered on Broly and surged wildly around him. Wherever it passed, huge waves arose. Even the spaceship in the distance was thrown backward as if a small boat was swaying in the sea. What change is this? Eyes was stunned for a moment and suddenly had a bad feeling. Broly immediately looked at Eyes angrily, his black pupils burning with flames. Could it be said that this is a Super Saiyan? Eyes' eyes widened. Congratulations, you answered correctly. Ren nodded and said lightly. What did you say? Eyes was dumbfounded. Whoops! Broly turned into a golden light and immediately appeared directly opposite Eyes. The speed was so fast that Eyes couldn't even react. Eyes was startled and hurriedly prepared to fight. Boom! Broly punched Eyes on the spot with a heavy punch. Pfft! Ice spat out a large mouthful of blood and felt that his whole body was not well. Snapped. Broly's little hand reached forward, grabbed Ice's ankle, and drove his body to smash hard against a meteorite in the distance. Boom! Broly took Ice's body and smashed it directly into the large meteorite. With a loud noise, the meteorite fell apart on the spot. Pfft! Ice spat out a mouthful of blood again. In desperation, Ice gritted his teeth and suddenly kicked Broly in the face. Broly allowed Ice's foot to kick him in the face, his eyes flashing with frost. What? Ice was stunned. I kicked him. Why did he act like a normal person? The next moment, what made Ice even more frightened was still behind. Broly suddenly reached out and grabbed Ice's other ankle. You, what do you want to do? Ice was shocked. Wait a minute. Hey! Broly tore it apart forcefully. Ah! Ice let out a shrill scream. When he looked again, he saw that Ice's body was torn in half by Broly. Yes, torn in half out of thin air. Fortunately, the head is still intact and not cracked. Oops, it's a bit bloody, Ren sighed helplessly. Jack's pupils almost popped out of his eye sockets, and he was completely dumbfounded. Is this the little guy named Broly? I am not wrong, right? The one who was torn in half just now was Frisia's son. This is bad now. After Broly tore Azer in half, he suddenly held his head and screamed. Ice. It has to be said that Ice's vitality is still very tenacious. Although he has been torn in half, he is not dead yet. Ice was speechless and fearful at that time. I am the one who was torn in half, what are you doing there, howling? Also, I think I can still save it. Who can help me? Dad, come and save me. I don't want to die yet. At this moment, Ice's fearful heart was filled with endless regret. I am a great frozen demon genius, why did I choose to come out at this time? Wouldn't it be better to remain frozen on my home planet? However, there is no regret in medicine in this world. Even if there were, Ice couldn't eat it. Chapter 56, Meruz takes action. Broly held his head, looking increasingly painful. Ice glanced at Broly. Did you tear me apart? Is this painful expression a sign of mourning? Immediately, Ice suddenly found that Broly had changed direction and whistled towards Ren and Jaco. Run! Ren hadn't finished speaking yet and immediately slipped away. So much so that Ren's voice was still in place, but the person was gone. Jaco! Jaco turned his head and found that Ren flickered a few times and quickly disappeared, suddenly feeling like a herd of grass mud horses passed by. You damn it! How can you run so fast? Are you human? Jaco soon saw Broly coming fiercely, scared to death and hurriedly fled. However, as Jaco flew, he suddenly found that Broly was chasing after him. Jaco felt like dying. Don't chase me! Chase the guy named Ren! Seeing that Broly was about to catch up with him, Jaco made a graceful turn and shouted at Broly behind him, Broly, I'm your father. Broly was slightly stunned, with emptiness flashing in his pupils, clutching his head again, uttering painful cries. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jaco quickly rushed into the spaceship and picked up tools to repair the door. I have to fix the door quickly and leave this ghost place. This guy is already crazy. Broly held his head, punched, and kicked into the void without any rules. Swoosh! Ren flew quickly from a distance and a wave of angelic power covered Broly. Broly, wake up, Ren said. Broly's pupils kept changing, sometimes distracted, sometimes empty, sometimes bright, sometimes sad, flickering. After 10 seconds. Ah! Broly screamed again, rushing in Ren's direction quickly. The next moment, Broly launched a fierce attack on Ren. Ren did not confront Broly head-on but dodged the opponent's punches and kicks by closing his eyes with free will. After a minute. Huff, huff. Broly gasped heavily, feeling endless exhaustion. It's troublesome. My angelic power is not enough to completely restore the reason of the Super Saiyan, Ren sighed, shaking his head lightly, this is bad. Let's just hope for the best. Jaco. This guy is so fast that he can dodge Broly's attacks. But what can you do if you can dodge? Once you're hit, you're done for. Are you risking your life to avoid it? Are you still in the mood to talk there? Is the door fixed? You're annoying, Ren greeted Jaco. It's almost done. Jaco hurriedly replied. As soon as Jaco said this, he immediately attracted Broly's attention. Broly turned his head to look in Jaco's direction. Jaco's face instantly turned pale and ugly to the extreme. You can't see me, you can't see me. I don't know if Jaco's prayer worked, but Broly ignored him and looked angrily at Ren again. Looking at this person who couldn't be hit no matter what. Ah! Broly rushed towards Ren again, launching a fierce attack against him. Outer space. A galactic patrol spaceship is flying towards here at high speed. There are only 2 people on the spaceship, one is Meruz, and the other is Iraku. The 2 quickly noticed what was happening ahead. Member Meruz, that's Jaco's spaceship. Iraku hurriedly said. Yes. Meruz nodded slightly, his gaze swept forward. 2 people are fighting over there. I like pointing diagonally forward. Meruz also saw Ren and Broly fighting. However, when Meruz saw Ren's movements, he couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, that's autonomous Ultra Instinct. What? Iraku turned his head to look at Meruz's, puzzled by what he had just said. Nothing, nothing, Meruz widened his eyes again, showing a face of shock. Didn't Frisia's sun eyes leave already? I scratched his head, muttering to himself. How could it be autonomous Ultra Instinct? What's going on? Meruz muttered to himself. What's wrong with you? Member Meruz. Riku looked at Meruz's strangely, what are you talking about? It's nothing, and you don't need to worry about these details. Meruz smiled slightly, returning to calmness, and immediately focused his eyes on Ren, dodging Broly's attacks in the distance. Brief silence. Meruz made a quick decision and quickly put on his oxygen mask. Hey? Member Meruz, what are you going to do? Iraku asked. It's obvious that the one with golden hair among those 2 has lost his mind. While putting on the oxygen mask, Meruz explained, I'm going to help. But that's outer space, and you must be careful, Member Meruz, Iraku advised with concern. Meruz didn't answer, so he opened the cabin door of the spaceship, turned around, and raised his thumbs at Iraku, smiling. Then, Meruz's feet jetted flames, flying quickly towards the area where Ren and Broly were fighting. When he was about to approach Broly, Meruz stretched out his arm forward, and a large net suddenly spurted out from his arm. Please move aside for a moment, Meruz greeted Ren. Ren quickly dodged. Swoosh! The black net released by Meruz covered Broly immediately. Broly was bound by the net, struggling desperately inside. However, the net released by Meruz seemed to be made of some special material. No matter how Broly struggled and how much energy he exerted, he could not break free from the net, but the more he struggled, the tighter it became. Thank you. Ren nodded to Meruz and said thanks. But Meruz looked at Ren up and down for a while, a little puzzled. Are you? Meruz asked. I'm Ren. Ren said without looking back, then immediately looked at Broly and greeted him, Broly, wake up, it's time for dinner. White light flashed in Broly's pupils. Is he your friend? Meruz asked. Yes, he accidentally lost his mind. Ren nodded. His transformation possesses super strong energy, which caused his confusion. As long as the current transformation is removed, he can regain his reason alone. Meruz smiled. Chapter 57, Is that the power of an angel? I'll give it a try, said Ren once again to Broly, hurry back. It's time for dinner. The light in Broly's pupils flickered again. Dinner, Broly murmured. Yes, dinner, Ren nodded gently, with your favorite fried chicken. Broly's eyes lit up, saliva flowing immediately. Snap! The golden light around Broly dissipated suddenly, returning to normal. Dinner! 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 Broly excitedly looked at Ren. After speaking, Broly suddenly noticed the grid entangled around him. Broly! Hey! Broly exerted force to pull, but the grid didn't respond. Broly looked at Ren with a puzzled expression. Do you remember anything before? Ren asked. Broly shook his head, indicating he didn't remember. Never mind, think about it slowly later, Ren said, waving his hand gently. The murky power of angels emerged, directly removing the grid covering Broly. Broly regained his freedom. Meruz, on the side, was completely stunned. Wasn't that angelic power? Isn't that the angelic power unique to our angels? How did he? What's going on? Meruz scrutinized Ren again. No matter how you look at it, he's a human. Like a Saiyan. But, did I hallucinate just now? Was that angelic power? Meruz didn't say much for now, deciding to find an opportunity to ask privately. Ren also carefully observed Meruz. Ren knew that Meruz was an apprentice angel experienced in the human world. Nowadays, Meruz's skin color is pale purple, not blue, perhaps because of deliberate disguise. In addition, Meruz's hair was also the unique silver-white color of angels, neatly combed with straight bangs. Meruz wore the uniform of the Galactic Patrol, with an energy gun hanging on his side. Swoosh! Jaco also noticed Meruz appearing at the scene just now. Fortunately, he fixed the door and swiftly flew over from a distance. It's Meruz, you're just in time, that's great. Otherwise, it would have been troublesome. Jaco breathed a sigh of relief. Jaco, are you okay? Meruz greeted with a smile. Everything's fine, Jaco smiled awkwardly. And Ice? Has he left? Meruz asked. Although Meruz was an apprentice angel, he was only experiencing the human world at this moment and mostly wouldn't use angelic power. It can be said that Meruz was using the skills he learned during his time in the human world. Therefore, concerning Eyes, if Meruz reverted to his angelic identity, it would naturally be easy to investigate. But now, he could only be considered an ordinary person, a powerful one at that. Eyes? He's floating over there, Jaco pointed in the distance. Eyes' spaceship had been torn apart by now, turning into many pieces floating in space. As for Eyes' body, it had gradually drifted away due to the battle just now. Meruz glanced in the direction Jaco pointed, immediately seeing Eyes torn in half. Torn in half? Meruz's face paled with sweat. Yes. Jaco nodded, then looked at Meruz strangely. You can see that far? My eyes are more complex in structure, like a dragonfly's compound eyes, so I can see farther and clearer. I didn't expect you to see as far as I do. I just see farther, Meruz smiled. Aren't you fly eyes? Ren asked on the side. It's a dragonfly. Dragonfly? Jaco emphasized. Is there a difference? Ren asked. Dragonfly's compound eyes are more. Jaco confidently replied. Ren didn't say much. You make a good point. Eyes is dead, Meruz sighed, asking, did he defeat Eyes? Yes, it was Broly, Jaco nodded. Broly pointed to his nose in confusion. You don't remember anything. Jaco wiped his sweat silently. I remember, chasing and hitting you, Broly replied. Jaco. Why do you only remember that? I remember, you made me call you Daddy. Broly's face turned cold, glaring at Jaco. Jaco was taken aback, his face turning pale instantly, hastily hiding behind Meruz. Broly gritted his teeth at Jaco. Broly, calm down, Ren said. Hearing Ren's words, Broly temporarily let go of Jaco. Jaco's hanging heart also eased slightly. By the way, I forgot to introduce Ren, this is Meruz you wanted to meet, Jaco introduced. Meruz, this is Ren, he is Broly, both of them are Saiyans. Hello, I'm Ren, Ren nodded at Meruz, greeting. Hello, let's talk later, Meruz said helplessly, proposing to Ren and Jaco, then glanced at the wreckage of Eyes in the distance. This is a rather troublesome matter. If Frisian knows his son Eyes has, he might come to attack our Galactic Patrol headquarters. I think so too, we have to go back and quickly figure out how to deploy defensive measures. Jaco was even more worried. Meruz nodded solemnly. A few of them returned to the spaceship. Meruz still rode his spaceship while Ren, Broly, and Jaco returned to their spaceships. Is the door fixed? Ren asked. Fixed, Jaco answered, then pressed a button on the spaceship. Click. The spaceship cabin door closed. Immediately after, Jaco pressed the start button on the spaceship, flying rapidly towards the Galactic Patrol headquarters. The spaceship had just started, and Tights' door suddenly opened. Wow, Ghost! Seeing Tights' appearance, Jaco couldn't help but exclaim. Ren! Broly scratched his head in confusion, even flexing his fists, eager to punch Tights. What? You, this neither male nor female guy, what do you understand? This stood with hands on hips, glowering at Jaco. Jaco decided to remain silent. Ren was speechless, too. Hearing Tights' voice, Broly seemed to know the other's identity, loosening the tight grip on his fists slightly. Chapter 58, Alone with Meruz. The current Tights is heavily made up, with thick makeup, red lips, and a white face. Ren, do you think I look good now? Tights turned to ask Ren. You look good, it's just, did you used to be a decorator with how evenly you scraped off the gunk on your face? Ren curiously asked. Tights. Oh, Ren, you're so mean. Tights glared and slammed the door into the bathroom. But shortly after, Tights stuck her head out again. By the way, what's the situation outside? Is it safe now? Tights asked. It's all fine now. That guy was torn in half by Broly, Jaco replied. Torn in half? Tights immediately turned to look at Broly. Broly grinned and smirked, looking very pleased with himself. Monster! Tights snorted and returned to the bathroom to remove her makeup. The spaceship took off, speeding towards the direction of the Galactic Police headquarters. It's so unfair, we're all elite warriors of the Galactic Police, why does Meruz's spaceship travel 10 times faster than ours? Jaco looked at the spaceship disappearing ahead and couldn't help but sigh. How many is that? Ren held up 2 fingers. 2. Jaco paused, asking, what do you mean? Who are the elite warriors of the Galactic Police? Don't you have it in your heart? Ren said bluntly. Jaco. Jaco's spaceship was relatively slow, traveling for almost 2 days in space before reaching the Galactic Police headquarters. The Galactic Police headquarters was a large space station. The space station floated in space, exuding a high-tech architectural atmosphere. The headquarters has already begun deployment and entered a state of alert level 1. Jaco saw the arrangement of the Galactic Police headquarters and quickly explained it to Ren. Ren nodded slightly and followed Jaco into the Galactic Police headquarters. Broly looked around curiously, full of curiosity about the buildings in the Galactic Police headquarters. Several times, he wanted to punch the walls. But he was stopped by Ren each time. Hello, are you Mr. Ren? A team member approached and asked. That's me. Ren nodded. Mr. Meruz wants to see you alone. The team member immediately said. Alright, lead the way. Ren didn't object. Hey, take Broly away, I'm afraid, with him around, Jaco whispered to Ren. Broly, behave yourself and don't cause any trouble, Ren instructed, this is a space station. The space station will suffer greatly if you accidentally damage something like a wall. Broly nodded vigorously, indicating understanding. Don't worry, Broly will be fine. Ren patted Jaco's arm. Jaco. It's our space station that's in trouble. However, Jaco didn't say much more, they just took Broly and Tights to the restaurant for a good meal. What a good person. Broly ate happily, even giving a thumbs up to the waiter. Jaco felt like crying without tears. This is a meal I paid for. How can you say the waiter is a good person? Is it appropriate for you to say that? And you eat too much. Broly, you eat so much, you've eaten the equivalent of 20 people's meals, Tights sighed. I've spent half a month's salary on you, Jaco sniffled, feeling his heart breaking. Come on, Jaco, money is just an external thing, don't be so stingy. We're both guests from another planet. What's wrong with treating us to something? Tights rolled her eyes. You talk so nicely, you're the daughter of a wealthy family, of course, you're not short of money, Jaco retorted unkindly. I didn't ask my family for money. Since I went to university, I've been working and earning money myself, Tights replied. Jaco fell silent. Of course, if I don't have money, my dad would transfer me a few tens of millions, Tights added. Jaco. Jaco felt a pang in his heart. Even though the money here at the Galactic Police isn't the same as on Earth, Jaco has lived on Earth for almost a month, so he knows what tens of millions means. If she didn't have money, her dad would transfer her tens of millions? Truly the daughter of the world's richest man. Do you still say you earn money from working? Doesn't that hurt your heart? Another one. Broly held up his bowl to the waiter. Okay. The waiter was also dumbfounded. How long has it been since this guy ate? Do you still want more? Jaco felt his heart bleeding. Broly glared at Jaco. Jaco immediately gave up, nodding helplessly at the waiter. In Meruz's room. Ren walked in, immediately spotting Meruz's back. Meruz had his back to Ren, standing at the window overlooking the brilliant starry sky outside. Seemingly sensing Ren's arrival, Meruz turned around, walking over to greet him politely. "Hello, Mr. Ren, we meet again," Meruz greeted with a smile. "I heard that you're the strongest member of the Galactic Police, so I came to visit you specially," Ren said. "Mr. Ren, I want to ask you something," Meruz asked directly. "Please go ahead." Ren nodded. "I saw your battle with Mr. Broly before," Meruz looked at Ren and asked, "I want to ask, were you using the Ultra Instinct?" "So you know about Ultra Instinct, too?" Ren replied. "It is Ultra Instinct indeed. Did Whis teach you?" Meruz asked again. "Sort of." Ren nodded. Meruz. "Yes or no, why sort of?" "Whis gave me a book, and I learned Ultra Instinct from this book," Ren said, taking the book of Ultra Instinct training guide from his pocket and handing it to Meruz. Meruz looked increasingly surprised as he read the book, even showing a puzzled expression, occasionally looking up at Ren. Ren was a bit puzzled. "Your expression makes me feel something's off. Is there a problem?" Ren asked hurriedly. "And no problem," Meruz immediately shook his head. "You're lying." Ren hit the nail on the head. "Meruz. Is it that obvious?" Sweat dripped down Meruz's face. Ren didn't say anything, just silently staring at Meruz's. "Before we proceed, I want to make sure of one thing." Meruz took a deep breath, raised his right hand lightly, and stared closely at Ren. Chapter 59, Meruz Doubts. Snap! Suddenly, a brilliant light like a starry sky appeared in Meruz's hand. The light was not large, about the size of a fist. "You can do it too." Ren was surprised. "This is the power of angels," Meruz answered truthfully. Snap! Without much hesitation, a brilliant light like a starry sky also appeared in Ren's hand. The radiant light released by Ren was similar in size to Meruz. However, comparing the two light balls, one could see the difference. Ren glanced at his condensed angelic power and found that his light ball seemed like a pirated version. Looking at Meruz, the radiant light was much brighter. How to describe it? Ren's light ball seemed shrouded in a layer of grey mist. In other words, it is the same photo, but Ren's image was weaker, even dimmer in brightness. In contrast, Meruz's image was brighter and not as dazzling, but it gave a comfortable feeling. Ren even felt like snatching it away. Why should your angelic power be so bright? Ren estimates that the purity of Meruz's angelic power reached at least 40. You know how to use angelic power? Meruz sighed, somewhat surprised, looking at the light ball condensed by Ren. So, you're also an angel since you possess this power. Ren smiled. Yes, I'm an apprentice angel here at the Galaxy Patrol for training, primarily to understand the good and evil of humans, Meruz replied truthfully, immediately retracting the brilliant light ball. So, you and Whis? Ren asked. Whis is my brother, Meruz answered. That's great. I have many doubts about this book, and I wanted to ask Whis, but I couldn't reach him no matter what. Can you help me? Ren said, retracting his angelic power. Sure, no problem, Meruz readily agreed, then lowered his voice and cautioned, about me being an apprentice angel, I hope you'll keep it confidential. Don't worry, Ren nodded. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to help you, Meruz told Ren. As you saw, my condensed angelic power is relatively turbid, Ren sighed, the same angelic power, but if mine has a purity of only 9, I feel yours is at least above 40. I've never heard of the purity of angelic power before, Meruz chuckled helplessly. These are not problems. I also raised the purity from 1 through diligent practice to 9. However, recently, no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to make further progress, Ren pondered, do you have a better way to refine my angelic power? Well, Meruz hesitated. Don't beat around the bush. Learn from your brother, Whis. He speaks straightforwardly, Ren said. Meruz. Honestly, I've never heard of the purity of angelic power. Can you give me time to research? Meruz asked seriously. Okay, Ren didn't object. Then. I'll find you once I've done my research, Meruz promised. I'll take my leave. Good luck with your research, Ren said, pointing to the book The Art of Free Will Cultivation on the table, continuing, I've already memorized this book. Take your time studying it. See if Whis made any mistakes. Okay, alright, Meruz nodded gently. Goodbye, Ren waved. However, as Ren walked a few steps forward, Meruz suddenly spoke again. By the way, did you only cultivate the angelic power from reading this book? Meruz couldn't help but ask. Why ask that? Isn't this book about cultivation? Ren looked at Meruz strangely. Yes, I'm just confirming to help you identify any issues, Meruz smiled slightly. Ren gave Meruz a deep look but didn't say much more. He turned and left the room to find Broly and Ties. Seeing Ren walk away, Meruz waved his hand in the air, and a surge of angelic power covered the door, sealing it shut securely. The next moment, Meruz gently raised his right hand. Whoosh! Instantly, a staff of angelic authority appeared in Meruz's hand. Immediately after, through the crystal ball on the angelic staff, Meruz contacted Whis. Oh, isn't this Meruz? I heard you were training at the Galaxy Patrol headquarters. Is everything okay? Whis' voice came through the crystal ball. Everything's fine, Whis brother, Meruz nodded slightly. Do you have something else to find me for? Whis inquired. Whis brother, do you know a Saiyan named Ren? Meruz didn't beat around the bush, directly asking the question. Ren? I remember his sausage had a unique flavor, Whis smiled in response. Last time, Lord Beerus and I had it on Vegeta Planet. To show gratitude, I gave him a simplified version of the Art of Free Will Cultivation book for use in the mortal realm. Meruz. Is there a problem? Whis looked at Meruz strangely. Art of Free Will Cultivation, a simplified version. Meruz wiped his sweat discreetly. Yes. If you can cultivate well, although you can't compare to Emperor Frieza, you can at least extend your lifespan by settling on a peaceful planet. However, Vegeta Planet has been destroyed. Perhaps this young man named Ren has disappeared with the planet, Whis speculated. No, he's still alive, Meruz replied. Oh, did he leave before the destruction of Vegeta Planet? Whis guessed. Whis brother, that's not the point, Meruz wiped his sweat. Oh. Whis was puzzled. The point is, the book you gave to Mr. Ren, The Art of Free Will Cultivation, I briefly looked through it. It's indeed a simplified version, only capable of prolonging life and enhancing physical fitness, unable to grasp the true essence of the art of free will cultivation, Meruz replied, shaking the book The Art of Free Will Cultivation in his hand. Chapter 60, The Grand High Priest Should Have a Headache. Ah, where did Ren go? Whis was slightly startled. Yes, but that's not the point. Meruz replied helplessly. Why is that not the point? Meruz, what happened? Whis asked strangely. Ren has cultivated the power of angels. Meruz said word by word. Whis' expression froze, unable to recover for a long time. The silence lasted for a full 10 seconds. Ah, this is indeed a major matter, Whis exclaimed in amazement. No human has ever been able to cultivate the power of angels before. Whis, are you sure you didn't teach Ren any other cultivation methods? Meruz asked again. Even if I did, Meruz, do you think humans can cultivate the power of angels? Whis didn't answer Meruz's question but instead asked in return. Meruz remained silent. Indeed, even if one were seriously taught to cultivate, it would be impossible to cultivate the power of angels. At most, they could only cultivate powerful strength through their own will. But it would not be the angelic power used by angels. What's going on? Meruz was a bit confused. What does his angelic power look like? Whis asked again. According to Ren himself, purity is not enough, Meruz replied. I have also seen the angelic power he condensed. It looks very turbid, not as pure as the angelic power I condensed. But what I can be sure of is that what he condensed is indeed angelic power, there is no doubt about it. Ah, that's amazing, Whis sighed. So, should we report this to the Grand High Priest? Meruz inquired. Let me do it. Whis thought carefully and nodded in agreement. Also, Whis, Ren asked me about the purity of angelic power, but I don't know how to solve it, Meruz said with difficulty. I'll ask the Grand High Priest first before saying anything, Whis said, ending the call immediately. 7th Universe, Beerus Planet. After ending the call with Meruz, Whis was silent while holding the scepter. Swoosh! At this moment, a fish riding a fish tank flew over from a distance. Whis, what's going on? The fish spoke, looking at Whis inquiringly. It's the prophet fish. Whis turned to look at the prophet fish. I rarely see you lost in thought, the prophet fish said. There is indeed something strange. I might need to consult the Grand High Priest, Whis pondered, then asked the prophet fish, by the way, do you have any recent prophecies? I have a very important prophecy, I was just about to tell you, the prophet fish nodded. What? Whis asked. I predict that soon, a very great angel will be born, the prophet fish replied. How great? Whis asked again. I don't know, the prophet fish shook its head. Whis. Brief silence. According to my prophecy, well, forget it, I'd rather not say, the prophet fish said halfway, then shook its head vigorously. Whis held his head, feeling speechless. Ah, don't leave the words half said, Whis said. Then I'll say it, but don't tell anyone, only the two of us know, the prophet fish solemnly reminded. All right, Whis nodded readily. According to my prophecy, this newly born angel may surpass the Grand High Priest, the prophet fish lowered its voice, saying cautiously. Ah, that's truly a significant event, Whis sighed, the Grand High Priest must be worried. Please don't tell the Grand High Priest, the prophet fish hurriedly said. I won't, Whis said, immediately contacting the Grand High Priest through his wand. Who are you talking to? The prophet fish asked curiously. Whis, is there something? The voice of the Grand High Priest came through immediately. Prophet fish. The prophet fish felt bad at that moment. We agreed not to tell the Grand High Priest. Are you directly reporting to him in front of me? I'll be dead by the Grand High Priest. Grand High Priest, there is indeed a very important and peculiar matter. Whis didn't hide anything, immediately telling the Grand High Priest about Ren cultivating the power of angels, all in detail. Upon hearing Whis's words, the Grand High Priest fell into contemplation. Grand High Priest, what's the reasoning behind this? Whis asked curiously. This matter is indeed somewhat strange, the Grand High Priest pondered for a long time before saying in a low voice, but in the universe, various peculiar humans will always be born, so it's normal for someone to cultivate the power of angels. Ah, there is a fish that said, soon a very great angel will be born, and this angel may surpass the Grand High Priest, Whis said. Prophet fish. The prophet fish wanted to cry. A fish said? Why not just say it's me who said it? What's the difference between directly naming me? I look forward to that day, the Grand High Priest said confidently, after all, I haven't encountered a rival in a long time. So, how does the Grand High Priest plan to deal with Ren's matter? Whis asked again, by the way, currently, he is with Meruz. Let him cultivate well and strive to become a true angel as soon as possible, the Grand High Priest thought for a moment, then added to Whis, and by the way, teach him the true will of freedom. Okay, Grand High Priest, Whis agreed. By the way, among you angels, who has the best teaching ability? The Grand High Priest inquired. If we're talking about teaching ability, it should be Sister Kuz, Whis evaluated. Don't tell him about Ren's potential to become a true angel, to avoid him becoming arrogant, the Grand High Priest smiled and reminded Whis. I understand, Grand High Priest, Whis nodded in agreement, then asked, should I send him to Sister Kuz in the 10th universe? Find a way to guide him there rather than deliberately sending him, the Grand High Priest replied. Whis was a bit overwhelmed for a moment. This question is a bit difficult. Just send him directly. Why go through all this trouble? The things that are harder to obtain, once obtained, will be cherished even more. The Grand High Priest looked at Whis through the crystal ball on his wand and explained, if you actively send him to Sister Kuz, he may not cherish it, and he may even waste time. By the way, he is still a human and has a limited lifespan, at most, he can live for 100 years. In just 100 years, it's just a blink of an eye for us angels. Can he become a true angel? Whis suddenly realized after listening to his words. So, should Ren be sent to Sister Kuz? Whis pondered, he's still quite young.